4 fours in precisely the same position through backward point. It was quite incredible. Anyway, 2 balls to come. This one is back of a length and just defended by Smith. Smith's on 16. He's faced 15 deliveries. So his strike rate is just over the 100. We love it when it's 100, as we mentioned earlier in our intro.
Yeah, the Australians are treating Van Meekeren with a lot of respect here. Just sizing him up, I guess.
Yeah. Quite watchful of the fast bowlers. The run rate is still high. It's still north of 6, but not as high as it was. This next ball's driven through the covers. The cover fielders dive, but no one can stop it in the ring, and there's no one in the outfield. So that's another 4 runs. The score that brings up the Australia's 50, 1 for 50 after 7 overs with a run rate of 7.
Well, maybe I'll do a couple of tweets while we change over. Jay Grover says, at the Tailenders gig last night, there were a recorded message from Bairstow taking the piss out of himself. I ostentatiously over it. They also made a sandpaper gag, which ceased being funny a while ago. And Leah says, I wouldn't call industrial amounts of acid medication per se, and it's probably a bit early for it, but if you insist. And I shall hand over to Ben and Russ. Catch you later.
Yes, Ben Rennick here with you. Good to be here. Russ, welcome.
Thank you. I'm not on camera at all. This TV screen's been shifted so that we're... Push it that way a little bit. No, other way.
There we go.
Perfect. There we go.
Just at the edge of shot. Yes, fast start here for Australia. 50 for 1. The run rate now over 7. Smith just starting to really get going and just all by just playing proper cricket shots to the loose ball as Van Beek will come in again to Warner, and he can't get a run as he's poking that into the offside. There's a bit of respect here for Van Beek, but the other bowlers have really copped a lashing.
Yeah, especially earlier, the 4 fours in 4 balls from Warner was quite something. Smith has such a strange hook shot, doesn't he? It's like watching a revolving door.
That's it. He's like he's spinning around on a lazy Susan, just helping it on its way. Geez, his cover drive's in full flight. He'd be keen to get a score here because hasn't been in the runs of late, but a good opportunity here.
Not scoring quickly either.
No big scores as Van Beek's in again, and Warner pushing it into that stacked field, perhaps from those boundaries earlier. There's about 3 points in place. It's a bit like that field people used to have for teams used to have for Damien Martin about 20 years ago, and he kept getting caught at point, or David Boone for that matter. So just trying to tie them down, but it is a fast-scoring ground. It's hard to see Australia making any less than 300 unless they get bowled out. It has been a big scoring ground so far in this World Cup. Van Beek's in again, and Warner's again defending into that point fielder. No run, 3 dot balls in a row. Van Beek with 1 for 10 off 2.3, really holding things together for the Dutch.
Yeah, it was really interesting in the last game. The Dutch almost had nothing from their fast balls. They really struggled, but and the other spinners as well were what was keeping them in the game for a bit, whereas this one has almost been the opposite.
Yeah, it's been the opposite. The plan of opening with spin didn't quite work as Warner's turning that one away down to fine leg, and he'll get a single. He moves to 20. It's 51 for 1. Yes, we might have covered this before, but I assume Australia hasn't played the Netherlands in a World Cup, or at least a 50-over World Cup before, which is...
I think they played in 2007.
Unless in 2007? Oh, thanks for correcting me.
And I think it was not good for the Netherlands. In fact, I think they're already doing better than they did.
It seems like the Netherlands have improved
I'll pull that.
Since 2007. Maybe we can look at that scorecard. And Beek's now coming over the wicket to the right-hand Smith, and he can't get a run as he turns that one, or pushes that one down to mid-on. So just the 1 run off this over.
Yes, the scorecard
yes,
summary on Wikipedia starts with the 4th 200 win in the 10 games of the Cup so far. Australia won by 229 runs. They scored 350 over 5 and bowled the Netherlands out for 129. So,
was that the famous World Cup that included Bermuda?
It was the famous World
Cup. It had
about
about 16 teams, Bermuda. 4 groups of 4. That was
the one.
The one and only time they went with that format, I think, as Smith Again, can't get a run, and that one's flicked to mid-wicket. Just the one run off that over. Good comeback by the Netherlands. It's 51 for 1, 8 gone.
Some talk about medications on the tweets.
Just what you want?
Yes, with Jay Grover saying that he refuses to attempt to joke until the pills kick in. Sadly, even aided by antipsychotics and antidepressants, there's still no guarantee I'll be remotely amusing. While Leia replies, I wouldn't call industrial amounts of acid medication, per se, and it's probably a bit early for it, but if you insist. Well, Leia's going to be on the call tonight, so maybe that will make for interesting broadcasting.
We're looking forward to it.
Second session acid drop.
Yeah, the 2007 World Cup was... The hubris gone wrong, really, wasn't it? Because they went 16 teams, but we'll only give most of them 3 games, and then we'll have an 8-team
Super 8s.
And then India and Pakistan get knocked out, and everyone's like, oh, shit.
So that was when they all stepped in and said, India need to play Pakistan, and if there will be groups, then India and Pakistan will be in the same group magically.
Yes, and they'll play at least 6 games.
And they will play at least 6 games, and we'll sell the TV rights. So now India guaranteed for 9 games, and everyone makes money. But we're halfway there. Game 24 out of 45, so we're past the halfway mark as Warner's steering that one down to deep third for a single as Van Meekeren continues. Yes, in some ways I don't mind the format. It feels like a football season or someone. It's very even. Everyone plays each other, but also
it goes for 24 weeks.
But also it's by the time you're halfway through, you're like, well, 4 teams can't make it, and there's about 3 teams going for one spot, and the top few teams are just resting players, and you're just waiting for a final series that's over in about 3 days.
Yeah, so
there's not much build-up to the final, as there is in other World Cups, as Smith's letting a ball go. That must be a big fine in a one-day international, in the 9th over, to let it go outside the off-stump.
We don't need that run. We'll get the rest. It almost seems better. The Rugby World Cup, though, is on the same time, and because they've got
it's been going forever.
They have a week between games, and it's like and then because of the 5-team groups, they have to play 5 rounds, and you're like, this is still going.
Yeah. I don't think that really works for anyone. The only World Cup that probably works is the Football World Cup. And Smith's pushing that one down. They'll scamper through for a run as mid-on comes in, but can't prevent a single. Smith moves to 21. Yeah, football you can kind of get away like cricket with a game every few days, but if you need a week off, it'd be a bit like if there was a Test World Cup and there was a 5-day test and then 2 days off and then another 5-day test, and you'd end up going for about 8 weeks and everyone would fall asleep by the end of it.
We could play a Test World Cup with the same format as the One-Day World Cup, and it would go for 16, 18 weeks, something like that.
8 weeks. We should just block out 1 year in 4, and that year is the Test World Championship, and everything else stops. That's a fuller delivery, and Warner can't get a run as he's squeezing it down to mid-on. This has been a good couple of overs here from the Dutch. The run rate back down to about 6. It was threatening to skyrocket for a moment, and they've just pegged him back. Perhaps Smith and Warner just thinking about their averages or thinking about a big score they could make and just settling in.
Yeah, Warner started very quickly. You think of it, he scored 4 boundaries in 4 balls. The rest of it's been rubbish.
5 in the other 13, and now it's 5 in 14 as he defends into the offside. So definitely not the South African model of just go and hit 6s every ball, but
they're scary, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
They give him wickets in hand in the last 10 overs. And
the way de Kock's going, it must be his 3rd 100 in the tournament. He's not sure why he's retiring after this. He could, perhaps because there's more money in the T20 leagues, I assume, but he could go on forever. He's only 30. Van Meekeren's bowling another dot ball as Warner. What is going on here? Australians just content to play out the maidens. It's 53 for 1.
Farong has asked, did someone mention earlier that today is Messi Jez's birthday? Happy birthday, Messi.
Happy birthday, Messi.
Happy birthday, Messi.
Jay continuing to be confused by the composition of the Box of Dreams. What the ever-loving fuck? Is Gary Naylor in Mooney Ponds? Your entire house is freaking me the piss out. Not entirely sure who Jay was referring to. But we also have FZ, who is an Aussie here currently living in the Netherlands for the past 10 years. Can't decide who to root for, so going for the tie.
Oh no, root for the Netherlands.
Not for Thailand? Oh, the tie. I get it. As Van Beek will continue, he's bowling well, and Smith's tucking that one away behind square on the leg side. It's going to go for 4. The fine leg's up. There must be a deep backward square out there, but he's split the 2, and well, that's the first boundary in a few overs. Smith moves to 25. It's 57 for 1 in the 10th over.
Still in the power play, so lots of gaps somewhere.
I think in my mind, I'm still thinking, well, the Netherlands, surely they'll just make 400. But it's, of course, very hard to make 400 in a one-day game, no matter who you're playing. So we'll just see how they go. And that one's tickled down past the keeper's outstretched left hand. It wasn't a great delivery down the leg side. They're looking around as if it might have been half a chance, but really that would have been a very lucky wicket. It's been given runs. I think on replay it might have been a few inches past the hand of the keeper.
Yeah, he played that pretty well. I mean, they're going to keep bowling into Smith's pads. They will give up 400 because it's not a tactic I would recommend.
Although he has been known to be caught, at least in test matches, at the leg slip or leg gully. At least England have employed that tactic a bit in the Ashes, and I think that's why they've got that short, fine leg in. But not working at the moment. And there's that pirouette pull shot spinning around on the spot. That's another boundary, 3 in a row to Steve Smith. So no worries about a couple of quiet overs. They're racing along now. 9.3 gone, 65 for 1, and Smith into the 30s.
Smith's really taking over the scoring here, isn't he? Warner was quick early.
He just helps it on its way. He's not worried about hitting it in front of square, getting it early. He just waits for it and knows there's a gap. It's probably the safer shot too than trying to hit it over the mid-wicket.
Short fine leg. He's going to...
And he can't get a run there as he's getting more of an inside edge out to cover. A fuller delivery from Van Beek, who's had his figures ruined a bit here. 1 for 23 now for his 3.4.
That's a better ball though. Cover drive is always, I think, Smith's weakest shot because of the way he sets up, and he's kind of a little bit prone to hitting there. I know he'll get runs through there, but I'd just be bowling in nothing but hard volleys and just short of a length outside of stump and make him chase them.
Yeah, and if you can get one to nip back as well, he's always prone to that LBW. We'll see what Van Beek's got now. It's another pull down the leg side, and Smith's getting a single as he turns it out to deep square.
We've got a deep square and a fine leg in now, so they've decided if you can't beat him by having one player out there, we'll just join them by bowling into his pads and having protection.
It's Logan Van Beek. I love that name, Logan. Logan Van Beek. Sounds like a superhero. He's charging in again around the wicket now, the left-handed Warner, and that one's fielded by the short third man. And there's no run. Warner stuck on 21, Smith 34.
I was
It's 1 for 65.
Associate Logan with trust fund kids in movies and...
Well, Glenn Maxwell's named his kid Logan.
Well, I mean, he's probably got a trust fund. Maxwell's not short of a penny these days.
Logan Vergis Van Beek, full name.
And Glenn Maxwell's kid is Logan Maverick Maxwell. It's just an excellent name for a Maxwell baby. We have a fact check from messages. No, it's not my birthday today. I've had enough of those already. And the next one's not until New Year's Eve.
As we're about to start the 11th over, so the field can now spread a little bit.
A tiny bit.
A tiny bit.
One more play.
I was a bit confused. Do the captains have any say these days? Do the umpires really need to make the signals? As that ball's wide outside the off stump, and it's a dot ball. But the old sort of way where the captain got to choose which overs they took the power play, then the umpire would signal power play on.
I'm still...
Is it now it's just set, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yet the umpires still carry on with their signals.
I'm still at the very old school. So it's the first 15 overs, and then after that,
Do what you want.
It's just confusing to me how the power plays work these days.
Well, it's just 10 to 44 out, and then one more in the last 10, isn't it?
Something like that.
Something like that. Someone correct us.
Oh, no.
Should be 3 for 10 overs, as Van Meekeren's pulling out of his run up there. Maybe 2 out, then 3 out, then 4 out, then 5 out.
You should get one extra
just
out
keep it as
every
it
time
is.
you get a wicket.
For 1 over.
Starts with 0.
And then it comes back. Just confuse everyone.
It's incentive to actually take wickets.
And the batting side gets 4 free hits per innings to be taken whenever they want. But it has to be against different bowlers.
No.
No.
Just one
Too far.
over.
1 over, 10 ball over, or 4 free hits. As they're getting a single, as that one's hurried down to mid-on, there's a shy at the stumps, but Smith is safely home. And it's 67 for 1. Smith's raced along now to 35 from 27 deliveries. That was some sharp running and sharp fielding as the bowler, I think, took a tumble there and Smith was diving. It was all happening, as Bill Laurie would say, but yes, he was well home. The Superman dive
Good
in
dive
the
by
end
Smith,
saved
though.
him. Good dive, kept the bat grounded.
Solid. Did you see Pat Cummins dive the other week? Hopeless. Went in with the knee at one end and the bat. It's just like, you're just going to do yourself an injury. Don't do that again.
Not worth Pat Cummins diving, I would have thought, when you're a fast bowler, as that one's saved in the field with another fantastic dive at backward point. Who was that in the field? Engelbrecht.
Siebrand Engelbrecht.
Cummins looked like me diving into a swimming pool. I know that it should be a swan dive, but then I panic and just pull my knees. They're a good fielding side, the Netherlands. Very athletic.
And so they should be. The amount of T20 and ODI cricket they play, it is their specialty, and that one's a short ball. Warner's ducked under it, but it's okay, says the umpires. And this is a good over by Van Meekeren, just the 1 run, which was a scampered single. He's almost completed 4 overs, just the 16 runs from it. So the question will be what comes after these two that are in the attack now, who are doing a pretty good job.
Ben Meekeren can get some bounce. In the previous game, he did 2 that not only went over the batsman, but over the keeper as well. So, very tall man.
He's continuing around the wicket, and that's almost getting wicket as Warner swings at a short ball, and it must have hit the helmet or the edge of the bat, and it's dropped down on the ground, and just before the wicket-keeper. He's certainly, since those early boundaries, Warner, he's looking a bit out of sorts. He's only had 5 runs from 19 deliveries outside of that run, and
I'm not sure how he managed to get this down.
it's almost hit the back of the bat. He was early on. I think it was almost a slower ball bouncer, rolled the fingers across it, and Warner was...
He's kind of bottom-inched it from a foot and a half above his head, which actually is quite an impressive feat when you think about it.
And probably should have been called a no ball unless that was another short ball. He's allowed 1 to Warner,
no,
maybe.
He's allowed 2.
He's allowed 2, and he's turned that one down to fine leg, and that's another bit of good fielding as I think it's our man Logan down there who's diving across to his left, and he's kept that to 1, and that's the end of a very good over. Just the 2 from it.
Another one of those
67 for 1.
Weird restrictions. You're allowed 2 no balls in one day, but only 1 in there. It should be like 1 no ball for the first 10 overs, but after that it should be 3, and then you can choose which overs you want to bowl through.
And the play just goes, and you just adjust the scoring at the end in the break, I think.
On that note, Ross, Mog comes with a warning. Careful suggesting variations on power play rules. The English will put them in the 100.
Well, that's true. One thing we have
What about the 6? The West Indian competition?
The 660.
Chris Gales, the 660.
Well,
It'll just be 1 over, super over cricket soon.
It's interesting we've never gone down the path of having like a bonus 10 or something if you land in a particular spot in the crowd.
Yeah, well, the old last ball is worth double. 12 off the last ball if you hit a 6.
Also, a question for Russ from Jay. Why is Russell looking so jocular? Is there some good happening in the world I've missed?
No, I'm just really tired.
Is he usually not
We're at the
jocular?
halfway point of the World Cup and I'm just that completely spent. So this is me high and giddy on lack of sleep.
And there will be a bowling change as the field's just getting set in it'll be Singh to come into the attack.
Hasn't done a lot of bowling, actually, Singh, so far in this World Cup.
No, he does open... Singh open the batting?
He does open the
Forgive
batting,
my
yes.
negligence if he doesn't. Yeah, I thought he was more up of the order, so we'll see what he's got as he's coming in to bowl some medium paces right arm over the wicket, and Warner's just watchfully steering that one out to deep cover. So we'll see how much respect he gets. The keeper is back, so
This is
a little bit of pace on it.
brings to mind the Courtney Barnett song, Pedestrian at Best.
It's definitely... Big fan of cricket, Courtney. I think she was definitely writing about some medium paces. Local Melbourne musician, for those who don't know Courtney Barnett, has Six bowling a dot ball there. That's a very nice delivery, just short of a length and defended to short cover by Smith. 123.8 Ks that was, so yeah, gentle medium pace, you would say.
Yes, generously gentle. You should know Courtney Barnett. She's very popular across the whole world.
Oh yeah, she's been on Ellen.
Oh, well.
Before Ellen was
Cancelled?
I think. Is Ellen back? I'm sure she's back. Sings in again, and that one's getting a bit of shape away from the right-hander, and Smith slashing it to mid-off, but he can't beat the field. He's not sure if he's talking to himself or Warner out there, Smith, but definitely gesturing that there was a hint of outswing, which there definitely was.
Yeah, that's that uppish cover drive that Smith hits too. Like, you really wonder whether you should stick in a short cover or short mid-off. Try and take advantage of it. Him trying, because his test matches he just doesn't play the shot at all. He just lets those go. But one day he'll I think hit those in the air.
He's turning that one around to the onside, and they're going to try and look for two here as the fielder comes around, and they will not get back. That was very well done. The one-handed pick up and throw, and it's hard ground to get to. It's such a short ground. It must be maybe not quite as short as Eden Park in New Zealand, but there's some very, very short boundaries here in Delhi.
Yeah, and I didn't catch it earlier in the game what the boundary dimensions on this one, but there's
Can't be more than 60 metres.
A lot of the grounds we've played on, they've had this pitch on one side of the square or the other, so you've had 70 on one side and 55 on the other.
Sings bowling a good over, and Warner slashes that to short cover, but can't beat the field. It was almost a crowd catch as the Dutch players went up. But Singh doing a good job here, just the two from this over. This will be frustrating, Warner. 23 now from 26, whereas at one stage he was about 19 from 8, I think. So he's really slowed down. He's got that grin that he almost is his default setting now.
And if the field placing graphic is any guide, there is actually quite a disparity in this ground too between the offside, in this case, being short and the leg for Warner being longer.
Sings in around the wicket to Warner, and he's getting a run as that one goes behind point, and deep third comes around. Fields on the slide, but that's the end of a very good over from Singh. 12 gone. It's 71 for 1. Warner 24, Smith 36.
Leah saying that she's just waiting for the coin toss World Cup. The whole thing will be over in an afternoon, including some musical interludes, and the competitors can keep their blazers on for the entire event. And Jay saying Russ running on fumes is still more together than me after achieving Nirvana, the utter bastard.
I didn't mind the old Super Sixes at the World Cup. The
99 still
99 or 2003 was that?
2003
maybe
was
groups of 4. 3 groups.
No.
Of 4?
99 was groups of 6, and 2003 was groups of 7, which is a little bit too many if you're going to. I just don't like a group that big. It also kind of makes it pointless because the 7th team ain't going.
If you're playing 5 games, you can kind of do that in 2 weeks. And then you're at the next stage as Warner's slashing an attempted pull shot. It's gone up in the air, but it's going to fall safely as it mid-wicket can't get to it and deep mid-wicket can't get to it, and it falls in the middle. He's definitely not picking up the pace and bounce here, Warner, with that pull shot. Van Meekeren just troubling him.
A Dow turned at the speed of a barge trying to chase after that. It wasn't... I feel like he might have got close. Probably wasn't going to get it, even if he was a bit quicker, but...
Van Meekeren in again to Smith, and he's turning that one around to deep backward square for a single. Yeah, the pools of 5 games, then you play Super Sixes where you sort of play the 3 teams from the other pool. That's 8 games, semi-final, final. It's still a long World Cup. I think
it's pretty long.
Almost 3 groups of 4 where the top 2 from each group go in, maybe, then or maybe 3 groups of 5, maybe 15's too much, I don't know.
Well,
you kind of want something happening every couple of weeks and then getting to the next stage rather than 6 weeks where not much happens.
I have for a long time advocated a 20 team. I'll explain why in a sec.
Van Meekeren's again around the wicket, and Warner can't get a run. He's looking for one. There's almost a mix-up out there. They will go through for a single eventually. Smith was not interested. Warner was halfway down, and then there was a misfield, and they eventually got through, but Warner really is scratching around. You can just feel something's going to happen out there soon, one way or another.
So 20-team World Cup, you play 2 games a day for 20 straight days. Basically, each group, 4 groups of 5.
Yep.
And then your top teams can go straight to the quarters, and your second and thirds can play off. So you've got an incentive, even if you're 5th in the group, to be able to actually, you could potentially get 3rd. Give yourself an opportunity.
Van Meekeren in again, and Smith is with that cover drive. That's well fielded at short cover. It's O'Dowd. The long hair.
What I said about him earlier. But
I love how he doesn't bother with the man bun or anything. He's just, my hair's out. It can't be comfortable. It'd be hot. But that's his look.
But, the challenge with the 7-team, 2 groups we get in the 14-team World Cup is like the 6th and 7th are pretty much really struggling. And then the 1st and 2nd, I barely had to try to qualify for the semi. So something that encourages you to come first and puts everyone in with a bit of a show, I think would be much better.
Van Meekeren's in again, and Smith's just helping that on its way around to the leg side, and that's beaten both fielders. It's beaten the fine leg, the deep backward square. Smith hardly put any effort into that, and it's gone for another boundary. He moves to 41. It's 78 for 1. 1 ball to go in the 13th.
33.
He's really carrying Warner at the moment because there's not much happening at his end.
He struggled in this World Cup really to score quickly at all, but the Dutch have helped him by bowling almost exclusively into his leg stump line where he likes it.
Let's see what he does here. He just turns that one away and sets off quickly as they'll try and come back for 2. No, they won't. That will be the end of the over. Smith will retain strike at 79 for 1.
Question for Ben from Jay. Ben, how is Capital, quote, disrupting the industry? And what can I do to help?
I should stop wearing my work attire. I'm sure you can read all the fluffy marketing stuff on the website if anyone wants to.
What industry is being disrupted?
We're building, construction company. If anyone out there wants to give us a job, let us know.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have a chat later.
We can build it for you. Now, the other argument for that, I guess, bigger World Cup is that's what T20 is doing now. That's what the ICC will say, is that one's down the leg side from Singh, and that'll be a wide. Yeah, they will say, the gap between the best and the worst is too big in ODIs, so the idea for 10 teams when it's really probably just, so India plays 10 games and then 20 over cricket, maybe we can eventually have a 16 team or 20 team with qualifiers sort of World Cup that's a bit shorter, which does make sense. But
it's always a bit of nonsense that the gap is too big. I mean, you get the odd, obviously going to get some mismatches, but the majority of the games you play, if you've got lots of teams, are actually against the other teams that aren't very good.
And that is how you grow the game, as Singh's bowling a good delivery that's defended by Smith just on the offside, and there's no run. Yeah, I guess it's which game do you want to grow? Do you think it's feasible for 100 countries to be playing ODI, or do you say let's try and get everyone up to speed with T20, and then maybe it is just the 10 or 12 teams that play ODI and Test cricket? And
at risk of diving into a topic with 5 balls before the change, there is a lot of talk right now about not actually playing one-day cricket anymore, and maybe killing the World Cup after this one.
That's the thing, is Singh's playing wide outside, and Smith probably shouldn't have played at that because he's got some bat on what would have been a wide, and he's not getting any run there as it just trickles onto the offside.
I think he saved Scott Edwards. That was swinging away so wildly, he was going to really struggle to get across.
one-day cricket really struggling for its identity. But I think for World Cups, it's just a great format of cricket. The game can change. Players can make big scores. The game evolves, But yeah, we'll see what happens. As Smith's turning that one, or more flicking it into the onside, and it's fielded at deep square leg, and they'll go through for a single. He moves to 43. It's 81 for 1.
Well, it's amazing to think how it's changed. I did a study a while back of how many games get played at the MCG of one-day cricket each year, and back in the 80s it was like 5, 6, and one year we played 13 in 1985, which I don't know what even was happening there.
What was happening?
But
I remember it was always 3 or 4 when I was growing in the 90s.
Yeah, the 90s
4,
it's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But recently it's been 0 or 1. Like, we've basically just given up on playing one-day cricket. And the last game they played there was against England, right? And they had like 15,000 people turn up or something.
I'll go into that. That one's played down to mid-off by Warner, and there's no run. I actually went to that game last year. I remember leaving work and sort of got there for the second session and walked in and looked out over an empty Great Southern Stand and said there can't be more than 10,000 people. I think the crowd was 12,000. I think the game I went to before that was maybe against Sri Lanka, where there was
20,000
about 20,000 Sri Lankan fans and a couple of people in the MCC members, and I was like, well, yeah, this is... One-day cricket just can't be making any money in Australia, so it's definitely...
And they've taken off free to air now, so...
And I don't know if there's even any one-day games this year. No one's going to turn up. We might be playing the West Indies or something, but guaranteed you won't get more than 5,000 people there. As Warner's flicking that one away through square leg. That was an effortless shot, and that's a much-needed boundary. Just for his confidence, he'll move to 30. Just helped it on its way. It was a short delivery in at the body by Singh, and he more paddled it away behind square for 4. 85 for 1.
Yeah, Singh's got to be really accurate here, or they're going to take him apart. So
could be carnage for Singh if he has to bowl 10 or any more than 2.
The Netherlands might be happy if they can get 3 or 4 out of him to offset some of the other players.
There's 13 ODIs at the MCG. That's living.
Just go there every week. It's like a football season.
Warner's defending the last ball of that over. It's 85 for 1. Warner 30, Smith 43, and there'll be a change in the commentary
Do you want
box.
to hit a sting? Let's hit a sting.
White Line Wireless. When you want more from your cricket commentary than a bunch of old players rehashing their careers and comparing size over a couple of burnt snags. Join us.
Yes, you're on White Line Wireless and Guerrilla Cricket all combined, and it looks like the players are stopping for a drink. Is that correct? Who have I got here with me? I've got Krish somewhere, and have we got Messi on socials?
You've got added
Yeah,
Messi.
it's me.
Oh, we got Addy. I can see you now.
Yes.
Took me a while to get in focus here. No, they're not having an official drink. It's just an unofficial drink, correct?
You'd think there'd be one after 17 overs. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. The world's gone mad. If Smith is outpacing Warner, maybe it's a result of the pressure of somebody getting dropped, either him or Labuschagne, and he's saying, I'm better than Marcus.
And Warner was also the beneficiary of that 4 fours in a row.
Yeah, that's true.
So take that away.
Yeah,
They were
and
pretty
he's
decent
really-
shots, it must be said.
He's only just hit another boundary since then, so 4 in a row and then just recently a boundary. But it's Smith on strike, he's on 43, and he's facing up to Ackerman, one of our opening.
Yes.
Yeah. Allegedly only in his second over. And this is flatter. And Steve Smith completely misses it, goes through to the keeper, takes the bails off for practice. And Smith is annoyed at himself for missing that one, but good delivery, stayed low, I think. Ackerman's back to the top of his mark already, and he's got Steve Smith driving down to a wide mid-on. And Smith has scored, I think, he's scored most of his runs on the onside, hasn't he?
Yeah, and that's not uncharacteristic for Smith, isn't it? But, yeah, I think Ackerman was the bowler who bowled the 4 fours in a row and was promptly taken out of the attack. And maybe just being put back now that things have settled a little bit?
His figures are only none for 4, so I don't think he was the
no,
one.
okay.
This next one is pulled by Warner, out into the onside, out into the deep where it is fielded. Yeah, Ackerman's figures at the moment, none for 5 from 1.5 overs. Smith's on 44, so we're on 50 watch at it.
And crucially, his strike rate is well over 100.
Yeah. Ackerman again bowling a flatter delivery. It's pushed to cover where the golden locked man, he looks a bit like Thor, I think, at it, if we're going superheroes.
Yeah, he always makes me think of Vikings. That's no doubt.
Yeah, he's a little bit Hemsworth in the face. This next one is flatter, and it's not pushed out to Thor, but it goes through the covers out into the deep, and Smith takes a run. That's 3 runs from that Ackerman over, the second Ackerman over. The score is 88 for 1, and over to Messi for tweets.
Well, Mog says, fuck, I think I can be seen lurking in the back of the studio. So your anonymity as the masked jingler is being revealed, is it, Mog? Leah says, did I mention I actually own autographs of one of the dudes that stormed the US Capitol? I'm not sure that that's something I'd be shouting about.
No, I don't think that'd be a tweet I'd be reading out, Messi.
How would you get that?
Jay reckons that Ben can rebuild Mooney Pond so it doesn't look like a serial killer's dungeon.
Anyway, we have the medium pacer Singh coming back into the attack. Smith trying to dig a ball outside off stump into the onside, but it's fielded smartly. So Singh has been reasonably impressive at it, right?
For this match, yes, but in the previous matches, he had been taken out of the attack after 2 or 3 overs because he started getting carded. So.
Yep. I think in one match, did he go for 16 from 1 over against Pakistan? I've got the figures for that match. He made 52 off the bat, but none for 16. That may have just been the 1 over. Maybe 1 or 2 overs. Anyway, he's bowling again over the wicket, and an attempted drive through the covers by Smith. He mishits it, and it dribbles to mid-on. So they're not quite middling it at the moment.
No, but in that Pakistan game, that means that Singh had a net run contribution of plus 36, something like that.
Yes, still in the positives there.
Yes, still in the black.
So his figures versus New Zealand, none for 9, and then he batted but didn't bowl in the next 2 matches. So having a much better match today. Anyway, he's running in again. He's over the wicket and he's bowling to Smith. Smith's pushing the ball on the bounce into deep cover and taking a single.
I think Edwards is persisting with Singh because he must think that this pitch has something in it for the seamers, and I think the reason why he opened with 2 spinners was so that he could steal a couple of overs early on when the openers are just trying to play themselves in.
Yeah.
So that he can save the seamers for the later overs.
Yeah, that's a good theory. It definitely is a good theory. And you never know. Sometimes opening with the spinners pays off. It just didn't pay off this time. It doesn't mean it's not worth a try. And Singh, his figures are none for 10. He's 2.5 overs. And this next ball is pushed to backward point where there's a slight misfield and an attempted run out, but they've got through for a run. Warner's on 31 from 33, so poking forward towards that 100 strike rate. And Smith, likewise, 46 from 45. So we always love that. They know that White Line Wireless and Guerrilla Cricket are keeping an eye on the run rate, the strike rate, I should say.
Yeah, Marsh disappointed in that regard.
Yes. Marsh out earlier to a terrible mishit that was competently caught. Anyway, Singh is bowling now, full, and it's a drive to mid-off. Smith can't get a run there. And that's Singh's bowling at around 120 to 130. Is that right, Adi, about that?
Yeah, he's a bit quicker than I was expecting. And and talking about run rates, the Australian run rate is now 5.68, and I was looking at the Manhattan, and it looked like a very sparse CBD where you had skyscraper, detachable houses, skyscraper, more houses.
Right. So not a very consistent Manhattan here. One ball left in the over. It's turned to short mid-wicket. No run. So a very economical over there for Singh, and the score is 1 for 90. 90 for 1 after 16 overs. Drinks are coming on, so we shall listen to the glorious drinks break jingle. I can't tell when the jingle's over.
Jingle's over.
All right. So
if you even play, we may have just left you with fresh air there.
Yeah, I was wondering if Mog's presence in the studio had resulted in no jingles at all. Mog says the qualifiers for this and the last T20 were much better than the actual tournaments, and that despite playing some of them at Geelong, where the boundary is about 15 metres from the wicket. Incidentally, talking of how many teams in the World Cup, the T20 World Cup next year is 20 teams who will be in 4 groups of 5, and then they'll move on to 2 groups of 4 before determining who's going to be in the semi-finals, and that's all going to be done in 25 days, I think, which is pretty good, actually.
That'll be fantastic. Where is that tournament?
That's in the
West Indies and the USA.
Yes. I think they're going to try and play.
That'd be a nice holiday. Yeah. Are we going on tour? Guerrilla Cricket and Wireless on tour in the West Indies, watching all those qualifiers. That'd be great.
Well, they're going to try and play India and Pakistan in New York. They're supposedly going to set up a pop-up 34,000-seat stadium in Staten Island, something like that. Let's see.
That is remarkable. Fantastic.
However, how does anybody know that India are going to play New Zealand? I mean, there are four groups of 5. They may not play in there.
No, India, Pakistan.
There's 2 groups. Well, how do anybody know who's going to play anybody? That's amazing that they should have some sort of foresight to be able to believe that might actually happen in an ICC tournament.
They never randomise these groups. We know this, Messi. If they randomise them, it wouldn't be fair. It's actually much fairer to deliberately place the teams in groups. There's always 2 strong teams in every group and 2 weak teams usually, and that's the way it goes. So, yeah, every time though, isn't it, Messi? India, Pakistan.
Yep. It'd be amazing if that actually happened at the Olympics too. Wouldn't that be a coincidence?
Well, yes, I think you're assuming again that it is a coincidence. It's not. They deliberately put them there.
Well, Brian Barish came up with an excellent proposition for the Olympic teams last night, which won't happen, of course, which is the 5 teams apart from the automatic qualifier in the USA should be 1 from each zone. So 1 Asian, 1 European, 1 African, 1 Oceania and 1 Americas, which would be great.
But would be completely counterproductive as a front for having India versus Pakistan in the Olympics.
It would.
Yes. And of course they cannot just arrange groups by accident. They couldn't put South Africa, New Zealand, Australia and India all in the same group because there'd be too many good teams eliminated that didn't deserve to be. So I think the way they arrange the groups is quite fair. Stacking.
Oh, they call it seeding, don't they?
Yes, indeed.
Pokey says, I saw Mog in his natural habitat. I didn't want to startle him by mentioning it, though. Have you got a dog with you?
So we now have Ackerman coming into bowl around the wicket, and there's a miss. Are at the same end. The Netherlands cannot get the ball in time to run them out. That was a terrible piece of fielding. And what an incredible... We never see this anymore. This was pure 90s. I'm so excited. Both batters. I think it was it Warner who kept running? Ardit, talk me through this.
Yeah, so Warner was ball watching as he went all the way down the pitch and maybe ignoring Smith saying no run, no run.
Oh, there should be more of this. I love it. Absolutely glorious. They're going to have such an argument later on today as this ball goes out into the deep covers and Warner gets a run. We're seeing replays now. Warner just runs. Smith says no. Neither of them are looking at each other. Warner has run 2 runs. He got all the way to the other end. He's run 2 and he's just made it back to his ground because the fielding from Thor was not quite up to scratch, getting it back to the keeper as tightly as it could be. Very funny stuff here as Ackerman bowls flat and fast. It's driven by Smith down to mid-on.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I
don't see Davey laughing, though.
Yeah. I have no idea how Max Hardad completely stuffed that up.
Yes, that's right. I don't think the Netherlands were watching either. This next ball's lofted high by Warner. It's gone up into the sky over Cow Corner for 6 runs.
That's more like it from David Warner, just making room on the leg side and just smashing it over wide mid-on. Are we having a channel change?
It feels like there's been, as his next ball's just flicked off the pads and Warner takes another single. It feels like Warner needs some kind of accident or stuff up or some kind of problem in order for him to pull out a good shot. And this happened last time that he almost played on. This next one to Smith. He's flicking the ball through square straight to Singh and there's no run there. He needs something to get himself going, I think.
Yeah. Jay Grover says, I'm no expert in coiffure, but I freaking love what the headphones do to Ben's hair. It's like a post-punk Barbie. I like that. And Mog says, you're very cynical, Messi, and on your birthday and all. It's not my bloody birthday.
Happy birthday, Messi.
New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve is and always has been my birthday, I'm pleased to say. But I'm cynical all the time, that's true. I'll concede that part. But I have that in common with you, Mog.
Anyway, we have Warner facing up. I just can't get over the highlight for me this match was seeing both Australians at one end. Anyway, Singh is bowling, and he is bowling to Warner, who's lofting another ball up into the sky, and it's gone straight over, long on for another 6 runs. That takes Australia over the 100 mark. Australia 105 for 1.
We'll play a couple of jingles there.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100.
Excellent work on the jingles there. That's extraordinary. We have both batters now within reach of their 50, their personal milestone. Warner does a glorious straight drive. That is absolutely beautiful through, really almost directly straight through mid-off, and that's gone for 4 runs, taking Warner to 50 from 40 deliveries and the score to 109 for 1.
How Warner was just trudging along and Steve Smith was accelerating, but now Warner's strike rate has gone way up to something like 110, and Steve Smith's dipped below 100.
It's the only way to recover from such a terrible running mishap.
Yeah.
This next ball pushed to point on the back foot from Warner. Warner, of course, versus Pakistan, made a glorious 163. And this is what we want to see, isn't it, Ardit, for Warner, who's on the verge of retiring. It's nice to see him go out with a bit of a bang with a couple of good scores.
Yeah, it's starting the farewell lap nice and early and having an intercontinental farewell lap at that. And, of course, he wants to end it at the T20 World Cup in the West Indies and the US, like we were talking about.
Excellent. Warner's on strike now. He's on 50, and he's facing up to Singh, and he's just pushing a ball to short mid-wicket. So far from this over, the first 2 balls went for 6 and 4, and the run rate at the moment is over 6.
I think it's also about Warner shoring up his IPL contract for a couple of years too.
Always good to perform well in India, where all of the crowds are watching. All of the boffins who do the auction are watching. This next ball from Warner beats 2 fielders, and it's heading out towards deep cover and to the boundary for another 4 runs.
Seems to us that it's in for.
Well, this is his home ground because I think he plays for the Delhi Capitals, and we are in Delhi at the Arun Jaitley Stadium now.
Yeah. That would explain why he knows where all of the short boundaries are. For a while there, Warner was just heading to the shortest boundary, which I think is that backward point for him, and so was Smith. Smith was going to exactly the same boundary, but for him it was the flick sort of backward of square. And the people who are fielding, or people who are watching and spectating in that particular region, getting, 10 or 12 boundaries in front of them, it would have been a wonderful place to sit.
Yes, best seats in the house.
One ball to come here in Singh's over. His figures just damaged a little bit by 14 from this over. Before that, he was doing really well. Anyway, his figures at the moment is none for 25. Looking for his first wicket. Will it come with this ball? What do you reckon, Nadu?
I was about to say that he wanted to get his economy back under 6, but that's not possible.
You can't do the maths, and he's still going to try. Is this next one's just pushed finally in front of point, and it's heading out towards the rope, but the fielder comes around, and they've run a couple there, very damaging over there, and we're finishing here with 16 runs mostly for Warner.
Jay Grover says, can I just point out that Cat's jacket is fucking boss. Breakfast Club boss. There you go.
I'll put my hood on too.
Because you're a cool kid.
And Leah says, Pakistani running from Australia was out Pakistan by Pakistani fielding from the Netherlands there. That's pretty spot on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
We were talking about people with split loyalties between Australia and the Netherlands. We haven't mentioned yet that this is the Dirk Nannes Derby. And,
oh, yes.
And he's, of course, doing the call in the game, and I was just wondering, who would he be giving more tips to, Australia or the Netherlands?
Oh, the Netherlands.
I hope so. I mean, you need as much support as possible for the Netherlands. So it's Ackerman who's going to be bowling to Smith. Smith searching for his 50. First ball is a dot, but he's on 47 from 50 balls faced. And he's driving a ball out to deep cover. Just getting a single, taking him to 48, putting the dangerous Dave Warner on strike. He's had a bit of a streaky innings at times, hasn't he, Arded? He's done a few edges and a few chances.
Yeah, and that's been the case throughout the tournament as well.
Ackerman wasting no time to get back to the top of his mark. He's around the wicket to Warner. Warner can't get a run into the offside.
But yeah, I can't remember the last time Australia had a mix-up quite so bad as what we saw a couple of overs ago. Maybe during a test match in Sri Lanka last year, I think.
Surely not. I reckon it's decades. His next ball's driven straight down to mid-off. The bowler tries to grab it, but it's bouncing a bit too high for him, and they've taken a single.
I seem to remember Smith basically getting run out and having his whites all drenched in dirt.
And being really annoyed at whoever was at the other end. As this ball is flicked backward a square, there's a bit of a misfielder, unusual. And they're running through for another single here. Just a 3 runs so far from the over. I've got some figures here on catching. We know Australia has not been, when they're in the field, they haven't been catching very well. They're third bottom on the table for catches. So whether it's the Netherlands or up near the top, another ball pushed into the offside very lazily by Warner and taking a very easy run there. So Australia are third bottom. They've had 17 catches and 9 drops, and only Sri Lanka and Afghanistan are lower. Netherlands are the best at catching, and then India and New Zealand pretty good as well. So we know the fielding from Australia hasn't been great, but from the Netherlands, brilliant in the field. 4 runs from that over, 119 for 1.
Jay says startling Mog in his natural habitat is akin to desecrating an Assyrian tomb. Tread carefully. It's Mog is treading carefully to stay off camera now.
Yes, he has since migrated, but I don't know if you got that gift from Mog in the camera there.
I didn't.
No.
Was it a hand signal, was it?
Yes.
I'm not surprised. And it's 2 words. First word starts with F?
Something like that.
Yeah.
We've got a change in the bowling coming up. Van der Merwe is going to come in and bowl by the looks of it. We'll confirm that shortly.
Yeah, it looks like Roloff is warming up, and we're about to see some extravagant bowling and facial reactions and everything that Van der Merwe want to provide.
Sounds like he's one of your favourites, Ardit. Is that correct?
Oh, he's very hard to miss.
So he is going to be bowling to Warner. He's coming left arm around. Interesting choice against Warner. And they take a single, driving the ball down to mid-on.
Yeah, I think maybe...
I have Nannis news. Jay says, I heard Nannis on TMS. He were all in for the Netherlands, even referred to them as my boys. He might have some unfinished business with the ACB, mind.
Interesting. So we know that Roloff Van der Merwe is his nickname is Roller and also Bulldog.
That's not surprising at all.
Yeah.
One thing that I did notice from Roloff is I think he looks kind of like an especially exhausted Mark McGowan, the former West Australian Premier.
That's an excellent comparison. He is, of course, I don't know if he's the oldest. He's one of the oldest in the side. I think he's 38. He's bowling orthodox around the wicket left armour. And this is a drive to mid-off and a very quick scamper through for a run. Or was that Smith on the strike there? And that is Smith's 50. Sorry, it was Smith. So therefore it was a drive to mid-on. And he has 50 runs here from 53 deliveries with a strike rate of 94. Congratulations, Steve Smith.
50 runs, give 50 runs. The job is only just begun.
So Warner on strike, squeezing a ball around the corner through square and getting another run.
I think maybe when Mitch Marsh got out early, there were maybe some of the more nervous Australian supporters who having some alarm bells go off in their heads about, oh no, are we about to do a South Africa?
There's a big slash from Smith outside off stump, straight to the fielder. Hit it a bit too smartly to attempt a single. They have been running a few sneaky singles, haven't they, Ardit?
Yeah, and maybe not communicating the best between Smith and Warner.
So Van der Merwe bowling to Smith. Smith drives to cover. And no run again. Another 2 dots so far. What's the score predictor coming up here, Ardit?
370.
Goodness me, that's high. This next ball's pushed past cover. The deep fielder, the sweeper's coming in fast. And they are scampering through for 2, 5 runs from the over, 52 for Smith, 60 for Warner, and the score 124 for 1.
Well, it's a good thing we have Mog in the studio in case we have we have need for the 400 jingle.
Well, Stephen Kelk is getting excited. He said, Mog is getting near. Yes, he is. Mog's taking over from me on socials at the end of the next over. Steve, he also says, is the bear Roloff Van der Merwe's bowling coach? Dear, that is mean.
Cricinfo refers to him as a tidy left-arm spinner.
Tidy.
I'm not sure that's an accurate representation of his bowling action. Oh, maybe of his economy rate, but certainly not of his action.
Is it Van der Merwe who was playing for South Africa at one point?
Yes.
I think it was.
Yes, Van der Merwe played for South Africa and then took one of the great catches of the T20 World Cup last year to essentially knock South Africa out.
So we have another change in the bowling, and we're going to have Bastelida. Bass. Do you think Baz is short for Barry? What do you reckon? Anyway, we have Delita coming in, and he's going to be right arm around the wicket. Fast bowling, medium fast, and this ball is pushed down to third by Smith, who takes a run. Warner, who takes a run there. taking the score to 125.
I actually did look up what Bas is short for, and it's Bastian.
Bastian.
Which
another good superhero name.
Yeah, which I would have thought was short for Sebastian, but no, it's just Bastian.
I like Bastian as a name. That's a great name. Why would you shorten it to Bas when you've got a beautiful name like Bastian? We're going to be calling him Bastian. Anyway, he's bowling to Smith on middle stump, and Smith says, "Thank you very much. I love hitting it into the onside," and takes a run.
So Cricket Info is kind of teasing me because they show they show Bas Delader's initials as BFW Delader, but they're not showing me his full name. And cricketers' full names are one of my pet topics. I would dearly like to know what the F and W stand for. Maybe we can make them up. Maybe people can tweet in.
Oh yes, it won't be pretty.
And this next ball is just pushed backward a point to a sort of wide third where they're going to be taking more runs. So 3 singles so far from Bastian's first over. How old is Bastian? He's 23. He looks very young, doesn't he? So I thought he was.
Yeah, he is 23, and he
plays for Durham.
He is a couple of days older than Rachin Ravindra, who we kind of talked about in our last game.
Smith on strike, and this is a beautiful half volley, but he can't penetrate the field. He drives smartly to a wide mid-off and no run taken.
Yeah, I think we said that Rachin Ravindra's birthday was the day after the final, whereas Bas Delader's is a couple of days before.
Right, so unlike Messi Jez, the birthday not today.
Stop it, Catherine, if we're not doing it.
This next one's full from Bastian, and it's driven nicely by Smith all the way out to cow corner. It's 4 runs and a little bit over pitch there from poor old Bastian, and Smith says, "Thank you very much," moves to 57.
There's not one boy for me, I must have 2 or 3, I need 4.
That's a classic Steve Smith shot there, just playing it off his pads, beating mid-wicket over effortlessly to the boundary.
Just having a look at Bastian's figures recently. None for 29 in his most recent match, as this next ball is pushed backward a point, and that is the end of the over and the end of our spell.
Yes.
There'll be a change, and Warner's on 62, Smith on 57. The score 1 for 131.
I'll do some messages while we're changing over. The answer for you at it is Bastian Franciscus Wilhelmus de Leder. There you are. And Stephen Kelp says, the viewers on YouTube are wise. Many Dutch people have a ridiculous number of middle names that they don't use in day-to-day life. Nick Vickers says, morning all. Enjoying the commentary as always. Don't knock the Bears bowling. Remember, he could do a good job in the IPL. Yeah, right. And Ben is back with us now, and I'll hand over to him. And Mark, the next tweet is from Jay Grover about Mark McGowan. Catch you later. Sorry, Ben, your mic is off. Not getting any sound from you, Ben.
Oh, is that better?
That's better.
Oh, that's better. So no one heard that. I was just saying these two were going along at ease, just pushing the singles and getting the odd boundary and not too many fireworks. And just as I said that, Warner gets down on one knee and slaps that over cow corner for 6. So
it's a classic Warner shot. If you were to put his shots in a time capsule, that would definitely be one of them.
As Van der Merwe's continuing and Warner can't get a run. There's some fantastic names in this Dutch side. Not least of all De Leed,
the other
we were
great
talking about.
Initials is VVS Lakshman.
Yes. As Van der Merwe's in and Warner's playing another dot ball. So 6 and then dot as he can't beat cover. He's just got that grin. I think he's, ever since Sandpaper, Warner's had the same expression on his face. It's almost as if he's been trained to smile, and not get angry and not be that guy. So whatever he's feeling, he's got the same grin as he's getting a single there into the offside.
Except when he was giving out LBW.
Yeah, there was one he got angry the other night, but usually he goes out just grinning and laughing, and you're like...
He got really angry the other night.
I feel like it's all going to explode at one point for Davey, because he can't keep this up forever. But
Joel Wilson won't be on his Christmas card list.
It'll be Smith now. He's on 57. Van der Merwe is coming around the wicket with his left arm off spin, and Smith can't get a run as he turns that into the leg side. So after that 6 off the first delivery, just a single from this over with one to come. And it's a quick over that will be completed with... No, there is a misfield and they'll scamper through, well, they'll saunter through for a run. So 8 off the over, it's 139 for 1. Smith 58, Warner 69.
Messi, if you're talking, I don't think we can hear you.
That's because it's meant to be me. No.
Oh, right, sorry, Moggs. It's Moggs, sorry.
Messi has left the building.
I'm going to talk to people on YouTube. Stephen Coke says, and thus the reign of milk begins. I'm only going to make mention of any tweets that involve my name, so you know what to do.
I think the happiest person with Steve Smith's poor run of form at the start of this World Cup. Pause.
And there goes Smith. Is that going to be caught? No, it's just over the fine leg. There was a diving, jumping attempt as Smith played that swivel pull shot again off to lead, and it's gone just over his head for 6 over fine leg. Smith moves to 64, 145 for 1.
It's a very dainty,
living dangerously.
It's a very dainty pirouette, isn't it?
Yes. Just helps it on its way. And he's done that several times today. He got just enough on that to the short boundary. Well, they're all short boundaries, but that one's short enough. As Bastian Franciscus Wilhelmus de Lead cries in vain as that one just goes to the right. And this one's going to be between the two fielders in a similar direction, but that's been clipped away all along the carpet this time between the fine leg and deep backward square, and that's 10 off 2.
He's dissected that one like a surgeon, and he's done that earlier in this innings as well.
Yes.
I was about to say, I think the happiest person in the team with his poor form earlier in the series would have been the 12th man, because they would have had to come out onto the ground less for glove changes. But this innings, I'm sure he's had plenty.
He has, and the lead's in again. Smith's flicking that one, or more turning it out to deep backward square for a single. 149 for 1. Yes, it's looking fairly easy for these two at the moment. As that one's sailed into the advertising hoardings. And you just sense the run rate will continue to go up and up as these medium paces continue to operate, as Warner's pulling that one through the leg side in front of square for another boundary. This is an expensive over from Delede, 15 from it off just the 4 deliveries. Warner and Smith really now doing as they please. Warner on to 73 from 56. It wasn't too long ago when I was last on commentary. He looked a bit scratchy, but since then, no dramas.
Yeah, that was a poor ball. It was just in his hitting zone at the right height, and it was just fruit for the sideboard, really.
He go down for a minute, thought he was in with a chance, and then just put his head down as if to say, I give up, that's too good for me, as Delede's bowling a slower, foolish ball. Is that taken? That is taken! But short cover, outstretched hand to the right, inches above the deck. What a catch. Who was that, Chris?
Roloff van der Merwe.
Roloff van der Merwe. That came out of nowhere. It was a full toss. I think it was an attempted slow ball Yorker. Not sure if Warner's checked for this or the umpires just want to check if it's carried, but no one's walking off the field. The fieldsman was certainly confident. You'd think, I don't think that was a bump ball or a squeezed catch. It looked like if it was a catch, it was a catch. Live vision, it looked out.
Yes, it was a great effort by Roloff van der Merwe.
As is custom these days, especially with the Australians, no one walks off until we've seen about 16 replays. and we'll see what happens here.
Not bad for the senior member of the team to bend over and pluck that one.
Yes.
Excellent catch.
He was certainly pumped up, and let's hope after the reaction, well, he's caught it about 2 feet above the ground. It's just the roll they're checking to see it doesn't bubble out, but it looks a clean. Well,
I think it's a bit like the Mitchell Starc catch where that
potentially the ball has hit the ground. Yes,
whilst he's holding it.
I think that's going to be not out. Well, yeah, you can't give that out.
So Van der Merwe has dived away to his right, caught it well above the ground, but then as he's fallen down to the ground, the ball has come down below him with his hands on top, and it looks like the ball would have touched the ground as he's fallen down.
Yes, he's put pressure. Would have been a try in NRL rugby.
Yes,
there was pressure on top of the ball, we think, and that's a relatively easy decision. Well, a bit of an anticlimax after the celebration and the catch. Well, maybe more in hope. He rolled around and came up with the ball, but I think it's fair to say without
the Dutch
that
fans,
pressure on the ground, disbelief. I think Warner's just saying, well, the ball hit the ground with pressure on top of the hand. That is, you cannot rest the ball on the ground as part of controlling the ball. That's very clear. And yeah, we saw that with Mitchell Starc, who stupidly did that. I don't think he needed to when he took that catch, the way he fell.
Was
Warner just having a go here at the fielder, or is a little bit of, or is he just saying bad luck, mate? There's a bit of a coming together. I think it was all, wouldn't say it was in good fun, but I think maybe Warner just saying, hey, that happened to us in the Ashes. Mitchell Starc, and yes, you can see the replay. Warner straight away went to the umpire. No, the ball touched the ground. Perhaps, I mean, if it's never happened to you, you might not.
Correct. Might
not actually know that rule. As Warner's slashing the next ball away for 4, well, that's just rubbing salt into the wound there. As the
that was a take that shot, wasn't it?
Yes, backward a point. No chance for the fielder, and that over's going for a casual 19 after the Dutch thought they had a wicket, and it's 158 for 1. Warner 77, and what is Smith on 69?
After some minor tech issues, which hopefully have partially been resolved, I blame Tony because he's not here. We've got some folk on YouTube again. Jay Grover is suggesting that Tony's had a day off and it all goes to shit, and it's true. Fucking shambles. And Brian in Brisbane's calling for Tony. I'll ring Tony right now and see what he has to say. He'll help us.
It's going to be a bowling change here. Aryan Dutt, who opened the bowling, the spinner, who copped his medicine early, 24 from 2 overs. He'll come back into the attack. Yes, we're just getting more of a look at the replay. You can see the bowler there wasn't too happy. I think the bowler saw Warner straight away, said no, that hit the ground. And well, if that was the Ashes, there would have needed to be a meeting of the Prime Ministers to resolve that, and we would have hated the Netherlands if this was Test cricket. But I'm sure no one will remember that catch from tomorrow. As Dutt will continue with his off spinners, and Smith can't beat the backward point. There's going to be a shot at the stumps, but there's no run as Smith sent back by Warner.
The run rate 6.8 after 23 overs.
It has got up to that 7 mark. They'll be looking, well, from this platform to be getting up towards 400, and not that we're going to discount the Dutch's chances of chasing it, but you'd think it'd be unlikely. Net run rate might be very important just to get into that 3rd or 4th spot or 4th spot on the ladder, as Smith's carving that one out to deep point, and they'll come back for a couple. He moves into the 70s. It's 160 for 1.
Of course, Australia's in the peloton, trailing the Indians and the South Africans.
Yes, and even the Kiwis. But if Australia do beat New Zealand when they play, they could skip ahead. But unless England finds some form, and well, Pakistan looks a bit shaky as well at the moment. Australia do look well placed to to get that third or fourth spot, but they do need to keep winning, and there's no easy games, especially against Afghanistan these days. So you can't count on winning any game. As soon as they think they're in, they're likely to drop one to Bangladesh or Afghanistan, and then they're right back in the mix.
Yeah.
Stutz now around the wicket, and Smith slashing that one. Is that one caught? He's holding it up. I think that's a clean catch. I'm just going to wait. The umpires are coming together. Smith never likes to walk. They're all congratulating. I think that one was taken clearly above the ground. There's a lot of hanging around. There's another look at the replay.
And was that...
Johnny Bairstow won't be happy with this.
No.
He'll be calling journalists everywhere to dig up old wounds and start talking about claimed catches and walking.
Smith's shaking his head. Was that Van der Merwe again?
I think Smith's more in disappointment in himself there. I think he's more hopeful in this one. But
So he's cut it to point, a backward point, who's dived in the same way as Van der Merwe did previously, but this time it looks like he's held it cleanly. I think he's learned from his previous mistake and he's held it up cleanly.
It's the same fielder who's... This is probably terrible radio, but if you're on YouTube, he's got this catching technique of his fingers pointing down for low catches, which is generally not a great way to keep the ball above the ground. He really needs to... He's got his fingers pointing up as if it's an above-head catch, and then he gets into this awkward position. But, yeah, there's no doubt about that one. That's definitely... He's rolled the wrist at the right time.
It's a great catch.
It's a great catch.
And
he'll be happy with that. It was a disappointing 5 minutes for him.
yeah, he's a sharp learner, obviously, because that was only last over.
Yeah. And that has now officially been given out. I'm not sure why. I mean, maybe Smith couldn't see it, why he was hanging around, but that was clearly out in real time for all to see. But got to make sure of it these days, and that is the second wicket. It's 2 for 160. Well, let's see whether the Australians will elevate Maxwell or Inglis or one of the hitters or go with Labuschagne, considering the platform. We saw them do that against Pakistan the other night.
Yeah, if it is Labuschagne, he might be thinking this is his last game before Head comes back.
Yes, you'd think he'll be the one that would miss out. Marsh goes to 3 and they all move down. I was surprised Cameron Green came back into the side. Not sure whether we've mentioned that earlier. Stoinis...
Did he have
perhaps
niggle? I thought
wasn't seeing the world on fire. Maybe he had a niggle. I was not sure whether they dropped him, but I think he must have had a niggle, because certainly he's a better option than Green, I think. But it will be Marnus. Perhaps the captain's just said, get your eye in and get some form. We've got a good platform. But you're almost... I mean, unless you make 100 from here, if you make 30 or 40, I don't know, 2 for 160, you really need to go big, or you're on a hiding to nothing, I think.
Correct. And 100 off 80 balls.
Yeah, so that's the aim. Marnus, 100 off 80. Hasn't had a great World Cup, just the average of 30 at the strike rate of 64, so...
Very disappointing.
Definitely Travis Head will come in for him, you would think, at some stage. But it's been Dutt with the wicket, and he'll continue. And Marnus will turn that one into the onside for a single. He's off the mark, 161 for 2.
And in today's one-day game, Smith's 71 of 68 is just a par score in terms of strike rate.
Yes, especially on this pitch at this ground. And not selling the Dutch short, but probably not the strongest bowling attack, you would say, in world cricket. So... But he's definitely set the platform, and he just looked so disappointed in himself that he picked out the fielder. There were 3 figures waiting for him, and that would have really got his confidence back in the shortest form of the game, but not to be. Dutt's in now round the wicket to Warner, who can't get a run as Point comes around and does the fielding. So this has been a good comeback by Arian Dutt. Just 3 runs and a wicket off the over. 1 ball to come. Let's see what Warner can do here. He's going to get a single through the covers, and he'll retain the strike. 24 gone, 162 for 2, Warner 78, Labuschagne on 1.
And back over on YouTube, our resident Dutch supporters, Stephen Kelk and Nick Vickers, are amused that there's been a wicket taken, and I'm struggling with Twitter at the moment, so you'll just have to wait. I would like to mention, though, that Bastian is also the name of a character in the movie Neverending Story. So there's your pop culture reference.
Bastian. Any Franciscus Wilhelmuses in pop culture, I wonder?
Yeah, that was the name of the captain of the Babylon 4 space station.
Thanks, Og. On YouTube, Jay Grover said, Smith's not angry, he's just disappointed.
He's never happy as Warner will take strike to Van Beek and can't get a run. He's 78 from just the 60 deliveries. Really did as well recently. There has been some big scores in this World Cup, and what better time and conditions and ground than here for Warner. Van Beek's getting that ball to skid through on the pads, and it's been turned down to fine leg, but not a bad delivery.
There's a unique grandstand at this Delhi ground. It looks like a multi-level car park.
Is that the Gautam Gambier stand?
The Gautam Gambier stand, yes.
It's just the ramp that the cars drive up without any parking spaces. Maybe there's a car park behind.
Maybe there is. The patrons sit amongst the cars, maybe.
It's like they had about 10 metres deep. It's a bit hard to build a stand back, so they've just built one that's about 6 levels all on top of each other. As Labuschagne's turning that one into the onside, and he might get a couple of runs here, or perhaps even 3 as mid-wickets coming around. No, they'll just get a couple. He moves to 3. Speaking of the grandstand, not a bad crowd in here, I thought. Given all the talk around how hard it is to get a ticket and the disorganisation and politics involved in where the games are played here, I thought this could have been a game with not many people there, but there's quite a good turnout and quite a good atmosphere in the ground. A lot of neutral fans, obviously, and quite a few Dutch fans.
Well, Delhi's... Yes. Pause for a moment.
Van Beek's in again, and that's defended on the offside, no run.
Delhi's the city where all the international consulate offices are in India, so I'm sure the Australian consulate staff are there and the Dutch consulate staff are there, making up the numbers today.
I think this was the ground where Afghanistan played England, was it? Which was a huge, almost packed out crowd there. As we're just seeing a few drone shots from the host broadcaster. There's quite a good, must be 10 or 15,000 in, I would have thought, as Labuschagne's defending another one for no run. Yeah, for these games between the bigger countries like Australia and the so-called minnows, who are not really minnows. Every game's been competitive.
They've got a few notches on their belt, that's for sure.
And if they can just pick up another wicket or 2 here, Green in the side, not in the best nick in ODI cricket, you never know what could happen as Labuschagne's just getting a single as he turns that one out to deep mid-wicket. And that's a very good over, just the 4 runs from it, 166 for 2. Labuschagne 4, Warner 79, halfway gone now with 25 overs done.
And because Jay Grover has mentioned my name, I will read out his tweet. Not seeing Mog's face makes me sad. Thought he gets the vapours over his glowering, Darcy-esque presence. All very accurate, and be grateful you're not seeing my face. I also want to do all your tweets in an accent, but that's probably not appropriate. And Leah, hello Leah, says, I'm not sure the Dutch consulate staff even know that their team is playing in a World Cup at the moment. I guess they're all busy organising cheese and clogs and tulips or whatever it is they do.
Surely this is big news in the Netherlands. I would imagine front and back page for the 6 weeks of the World Cup. No?
There should be.
Should be up there with Max Verstappen, as we've discussed. It'd be good if the Dutch could host a couple of World Cup games, perhaps when there's the next T20 World Cup in the UK.
Yeah, and Ireland.
That would be good for the game in Ireland. Have a whole just European. Well, England's not part of Europe anymore, but that part of the World Cup is a single being taken off Dut to start the over. Yeah, I think was it the next FIFA Soccer World Cup or the one after is being played in I think about 6 different countries
in Europe. Someone
correct me. I'm not sure if it's Europe. 2034. There's something like that I heard, which I think the Basketball World Cup was played all over the place. Japan, Indonesia, Malaysia, sort of. So it can be done as Warner's turning a single into the onside off Dut, 168 for 2.
We are in that period of one-day cricket where it's a dead spot and the batting team's just happy to pick up 1s and 2s with the occasional boundary.
This is where we need random free hits and
correct.
Only 2 outside the circle from overs 25 to 30 just to spice it up. And that's spicing it up with a reverse sweep by Labuschagne. That's beating the short third man and that's gone for 4. Well, that was out of the box really. Haven't seen much of that. It's been mostly conventional cricket today and Marnus just thinking outside the box and getting himself 4 runs.
He was totally in control of that shot. It was well played.
Was well played because he was totally LBW if he had missed that. So it was right off the middle of the bat. So that's his go, Marnus. More than smacking the big sixes, he's got to use those angles. Bit of the old school deflector. He's pushing that one into the offside and they go through for a quick single. He moves into double figures. 173 for 2.
Very impressed by Arjen Dut. He's only a 20-year-old, native of the Netherlands. He's executed him very well through this World Cup.
Let's see what Warner will do here. He's opened up the stance a little bit to open up that leg side, but he's defending that one into the offside. Quicker delivery from Dut. He's pushing him through above 90 Ks. Warner just looking for that one that's tossed up. He's in again to complete the over, and that's a shorter delivery in Warner again. Can't beat cover. And there will be no run. 7 off the over with the boundary. It's 174 for 2.
Stephen Kolk has gone back to work, so I'll start being entertaining now. Nick Vickers says, in 2030, the World Cup will be in Spain, Portugal and Morocco. The first 3 games will be in Argentina, Uruguay and I think Paraguay.
There you go.
So
6 countries, but
all
just a
over
bit of
the
a
place.
different start.
And Jay did suggest that I should try actually doing an accent, but I'll probably end up just sounding like I'm from Cornwall or something, so I won't.
I think the next FIFA World Cup in the USA, I think he's in Canada, the USA and Mexico, which the size of those 3 countries is bigger than Europe, so travel not a factor in those tournaments obviously, as Van Beek bowls the top ball. I keep calling him Van der Beek, thinking getting Dawson's Creek vibes from him.
Is he just new back into the attack?
He might have bowled the last over.
Okay.
Shows how much I'm paying attention, talking about everything else other than the cricket.
It's 30 degrees in Delhi now. Air quality is very poor.
As is the quality of that delivery, but it'll be saved as it's fielded quite brilliantly by Delete at point above his head as Marnus slashed that away. He's really missed out there. Still 173 for 2.
Overall, the Dutch fielding is very good. They've had a few misses, but I think generally they're excellent.
Yeah, it's just that one catch that could have been that they might rue, as that one's wrapped Labuschagne on the helmet, I think, and there might be Doctor might be called out here, yes. I think it will be. That's wrapped him. Was it on the grill or just above the grill, the side of the head as he was turning to play the pull shot? That was a quicker delivery. It really rushed him through, caught him off guard, I think.
Wondering whether he got
He looks okay
into his helmet with that one. But yeah, certainly the concussion protocols come out.
Certainly a very quick concussion test. I'm not sure what they actually do, whether they just check the helmet. They obviously swap the helmet, but...
They ask him, how do you pronounce your surname, Manus?
As that one's...
straight
onto the middle, almost front to side of the helmet. It was... I was going to say it was a glancing blow. No, it was a fair thud in there. But he looks okay, and you'd expect he'll count to 10 and reel off his birthday and the Prime Minister's name, and he'll be right.
He always looks kind of stunned anyway.
Is it an independent doctor who does this assessment, or is it the Australian medicos?
I would have thought it's just the Australian medicos, but...
Because then you kind of question the integrity of it if it's just the Australian medical team.
Well, you would. I think that's the big debate going on, at least in AFL football in Australia at the moment, is do we have an independent medico, or do you trust the team doctor that knows the player and has done all the pre-testing? And that could be a strategic move if Mark's struggling and say he was none off 11 balls. They could say he has concussion and sub him off. I'm sure a team... As we are just having a bit of an extended break whilst Manus is checked out.
Of course, in T20 cricket in Australia, you can sub the batsman out, right? Or sub a player out. Do they still have that rule?
For any reason?
That rule's changed?
No.
Okay. They did have that rule one season.
There's been a few rules in domestic cricket. The old sub rule in the 50 over comp. We won't even go into the BBL rules that they bring out to confuse everyone. The captains wear a different colour hat. The leading run scorer wears something. It's like the
Yes. I think
it's part Tour de France, part cricket.
They've copied that from the IPL. They have the leading run scorer and the leading wicket taker.
I was watching the WBBL the other night, and I think Meg Lanning was wearing the yellow cap.
Okay.
And all the other teammates were wearing the green of the Melbourne Stars. And I thought she may have just forgot her cap and pulled out the Australian cap, but no. That the captain wears a different colour.
Or was that
just because everyone's confused in cricket who the captain is?
Yes.
It's really hard for the umpires to know who the captain is.
Or was that yellow cap just to signify that her team got bowled out for 29?
No. It's been interesting times in the WBBL. Alyssa Healy's been playing with the dogs.
Were they her
ruining
pets?
her hands? Well, I mean, when Mitchell Stark goes away, then it's obviously a bit of a handful at home for Alyssa.
Allegedly, they were both her dogs. They were fighting.
Yes.
She stuck her hand into the blender and learned her lesson, I hope.
We assume she wasn't out on the Terps and punched someone on King Street, and like most, third footballers tell many a story about how they were playing with the dogs, and
indeed,
turns out there was something else. Or they slipped in the shower, but it turns out they were filling in for a mate's basketball team, which they weren't supposed to be doing. They did their knee.
Doing their mate's wife.
Which you can also injure your knee in the process.
All right.
We digress.
Yes.
We're back. Labuschagne is back. He's remembered how to spell his name, and he's going to be facing Van Beek, and he's turning that one away to deep backward square, and that's the first run off the over. 3 dot balls, and the single 174 for 2. He moves to 11.
think the Australians must have been upset that the Dutch were actually on their over rate requirements. They said, no, we've got to slow you down here. So they've had an extended break.
I was just wondering, we might be due for, at the end of the over, a commentary change as Van Beek's coming in and Warner's steering that one, you would say, out to deep point. And they'll come back for 2. He goes to 82, 176 for 2.
We'll have a change at the end of this over.
Yes, do keep tweeting in. We are in that stage where hopefully the Australians just start going the tonk, but at the moment it's more steady as she goes. About to complete the 27th over. In the Dirk Nannis derby, as Warner can't get a run as that one's just turned into leg side. Mid-wicket does the fielding, 176 for 2, 27 gone.
And in the change, I'll do a couple of tweets. I'm going to find it hard to be as chill as Mog on tweets, though. With Mog and Russ on, it'd be so chill to start snowing, I think. There you are, Kat. Well, I don't need to fill. You can go.
Oh, well, I don't know that they're bowling right now, so feel free to do some tweets.
Well, Brian Barrage is with us. He says, I'm excited to be living 20 minutes from a 2026 World Cup stadium, though I imagine it'll be a Taylor Swift ticket experience. Yeah, I don't think so. It reminds me of that attempt by baseball in 1882 where every position wore a different colour uniform with teams identified only by their socks. That lasted 1 month. When you say you're reminded of 1882, I hadn't got you as that old, Brian.
I think someone else is on board by ball, actually.
Yep.
But is that you, Adam?
Yes, that's me. And Iron Dub starts his 5th over, defended to the leg side by, I think that was Labuschagne.
So what I have for you, Arded, is a concussion test. I've looked up all of the requirements, and I'm going to spring it on you as we go through these overs.
Dutt coming in again, flicked onto the leg side by Labuschagne for a single. Yes, can you lighten us?
So the first question is, who bowled the ball?
Oh. Well, yeah. They could just be not paying attention, right?
I mean, I'm not sure that I would always remember, even being in commentary, who bowled the ball. So I might be relieved of my commentary duties if that was a question.
Dutt into Warner around the wicket. Warner flicks it onto the leg side, thinks about a single, but Minus tells him no run, as he is wont to do, and they stay as they are. What are some other questions, Kat?
So presumably you would get that one right, Ardit. You'd say Dutt bowled the ball, and then who bowled the previous over is the next question.
Well, I have graphics and they don't.
That's not fair.
I mean, I guess you could look up at the scoreboard. I don't know.
Just defended back to the bowler, but Dutt misses it, and so the ball trickles out to long off for a single. Australia are 178 for 2. That moves Warner onto 83.
Yeah, Dutt had a pretty good dive there for that ball, but it's gone out into the deep. He thumps the ground in frustration. He wanted to cut off that run.
It's good to see the Dutch, as a fielding unit, holding themselves to very high fielding standards. As he comes in for the 5th ball of the over to Labuschagne, who cuts it off the back foot through the gap at extra cover for and they run 2, brings Labuschagne onto 14.
And so the next question, who was the last man dismissed?
Oh, what?
These are some very tricky questions.
They are, I think they are. And the next question, where was your last match?
What?
Yeah. So you've got to remember where the last match was. It might be difficult in a World Cup where you're travelling.
I reckon.
Travelling all the time into all different places.
This explains why so many people get subbed out.
Last ball of the over to Labuschagne, just defended back to the bowler for no run. Australia are 180 for 2. Labuschagne on 14 and Warner on 83.
Jay says, how do you pronounce the surname Manus made me split. The surname, sorry. How do you pronounce your surname, Manus? Made me spit my pop, says Jay. Sorry, Mog qualifier. And Jay says, it's playing with the dogs, the Australian sportsperson's my dog ate my homework excuse for violence. Not generally speaking, Jay, but I guess it's a substitute that could be done. Jay says, person, woman, man, camera, TV. I love that. Yes. I think Donald Trump could give some explanations of concussion tests.
Excellent. That's great.
I'm not sure he needs to be concussed to be administered that to need to be administered that test. As Paul Van Meekeren looks like he's coming back into the attack. I was looking forward to calling a Logan Van Beek over and saying that he doesn't want to wait for this innings to be over to make something happen, but into Warner seems to have missed the flick onto the leg side and just kind of edged the ball back to the bowler for no run.
Warner is on 83. We're almost on century watch for Warner. We have also Batman coming into the commentary box. Good boy.
Excellent.
Hello,
And
Batman.
there are some more concussion tests. There's a thing called the Sport Concussion Assessment Tool, SCAT, the SCAT 5. The SCAT has a lot of questions.
Production note, Cat isn't on screen.
Van Meekeren into Warner. That's cut very firmly onto the offside, but stopped at the boundary by Baz Delata. And the batter's run 2 brings Warner on to 85.
Nor am I come to that.
No, I think people have only worried that I'm not on screen now that I've said that I've got Batman on my knee, and people are very, very annoyed that they can't see Batman.
We've discussed this being an all pets all the time stream, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we could very well get many more views. Everything looks good on this
that's
end.
it?
Yep. Van Meekeren into Warner again. That's short and just left straight through to the keeper by Warner. No run.
So step 1 of the SCAT test is red flags, anything on the field, neck pain, double vision, weakness or tingling, severe or increasing headache, seizure, convulsion, loss of consciousness, is one of the red flags apparently.
Oh, no.
Meaning that you shouldn't continue. Vomiting or increased restlessness, agitation or combative. I don't know how you'd know with Smith.
Especially with Warner.
Exactly.
With that last one, Van Meekeren into Warner again. Full, driven to mid-off, no run.
This is...
I mean, it doesn't have to be concussion, right? Like, if somebody is unconscious, then, well, they can't play.
Yeah. Any balance or gait difficulties, a blank or vacant look, or a facial injury. And then there's some memory questions. Let's go with the memory questions in a minute after this next delivery, perhaps.
Over the wicket this time to Warner, an attempted drive, but just bottom-edged for a single. Brings him to 86 and Australia 183 for 2. And memory questions.
What venue are we at today, Adit?
We are, I think, at the Arun Jaitley Stadium. I think the Feroz Shah Kotla would also be an acceptable answer.
Yeah, so we will let you continue commentating. No head injury there. Next, which part of the game are we in?
Well, I have graphics, so it's the first innings, and because I have graphics, we're in the 29th over.
Excellent. And who last scored in this match? Or who scored most recently?
Probably Warner. Van Meekeren is into Labuschagne now. Very, very short. Would this be given a wide? Yes, it is. It was well over Marnus's head. And our host broadcaster has missed the fact that it's a wide and they're not showing this sixth ball. So let's.
I think you can blame Channel 9 rather than the host broadcaster. The friends want to get the ads on as soon as possible.
Yeah, so Foxtel has not been fooled by the wide. So interesting.
And what has happened in the sixth ball of the over? Kat?
So I do have the sixth ball of the over. It's just about to come up. We've had a player moving into short third, sort of a backward point region. Anyway, this next ball is dabbed out towards the square leg region. They're taking a single. Warner goes to 86, Labuschagne 15, the score 185 for 2. I think that is the end of the over.
That is the end of the over.
Indeed. I just have to say, I don't believe those questions are being asked, because I reckon anybody asked them would be scratching their head, looking at the scoreboard, looking around, thinking, who the hell am I batting with? I don't think they've been asking him.
And also the speed that test, whatever test was being administered to Labuschagne, I don't think they had time for any of those questions even.
Yeah. And Muttley reckons you're getting your excuses ready for calling in sick tomorrow.
Yeah. Indeed. My goodness, I've got a big day tomorrow. I've got to leave home at 6.
Can't
call in sick.
Do you need one of us to give you the SCAT 5 or another form of concussion test?
No, it's only a board meeting. I don't think I would be.
This comes into Labuschagne, just defended back to and we were talking about strike rates and as I say that, he dots out a couple of balls. But there's been some talk about the fact that net run rate is being used as a tiebreaker is actually encouraging slower and more careful batting, especially especially towards the chasing team's innings. Back to Labuschagne now and driven out to a long one for a single. That brings Labuschagne on to 16. But yeah, so I think Labuschagne's relatively low strike rate was because he was batting towards the end of Australia's 2 big losses and they were trying to preserve their net run rate. So maybe it's not indicative of his scoring rate as such. Iron dot around the wicket into Warner. Just rocked onto the back foot, out to deep extra cover for a single, brings him on to 87.
I can tell you that Warner has now overtaken Rohit Sharma to be the 3rd highest run scorer in the World Cup so far.
Can you tell us who 1 and 2 are?
De Kock, obviously number 1 with 407. Kohli second with 354. Warner's now on somewhere around 314. They probably haven't updated it for the last round.
And counting. Iron dot into Labuschagne. Kind of a standing sweep shot, and not.
So it's possible Warner could get to the top of that table. You just never know. How many does he have to get to beat De Kock? Another 200?
Another 100, less than 100 to overtake De Kock. Yeah, it's possible.
Okay, well, that'd be a good thing to find.
Into Labuschagne and flicked onto the leg side to deep fine leg for a single, brings Labuschagne onto 21.
If you have a look at the worm so far for this innings for Australia, it's a pretty steady increase in runs at the same kind of run rate. So no kind of increase in the gradient. It's just been high to start with, a few little flat spots, but mostly it's been increasing at the same rate. And if anything, just slightly tapering off in the last 10 overs.
Mog says, I couldn't really answer those questions if I wasn't head injured. Sorry, we're live. Are we live?
We are not live.
Okay. Jay says, all of Moonee Ponds are too darn chill. There's now a ramp between you. Except when Sapun starts on about Zampa and Inglis. My respect for Zampa has increased since I discovered he doesn't sing the Australian national anthem, I must say.
Apparently that's been a recent phenomenon, and yeah, because we see Funmaker coming in for a 7th over into Labuschagne, who full ball driven straight to mid-off for no run.
So he's only recently stopped singing it? Do you know the reason at it?
There's been a bit of speculation, and the tournament started before the voice referendum, and he's only started doing it in the past couple of games. So maybe this is a little bit of a silent protest.
Interesting. I think that there was a call for a silent protest, and that might be fitting. I can imagine Zampa doing that.
Funmaker into Labuschagne and driven off the back foot to deep extra cover for a single, brings him on to 22.
So Australia's slowing right down the last few overs. It's, it's not terrible. It's still, up over 6, but just a slight tapering off here.
Well, we were talking about the Manhattan being a few skyscrapers scattered among single-story detachable houses. We're seeing some medium-density housing now. Fanmaker and into Warner over the wicket, just driven lightly onto the offside for a single. Warner is on 88. Australia now 194 for 2. And I think
it's a good platform for 400, isn't it?
Yes, and it's a good platform for the likes of Glenn Maxwell to perhaps do what Heinrich Klaasen and David Miller have done so wonderfully for the South African team. We're wondering if...
I hope he lasts more than one ball.
Van Meckeren into Blabbershane this time, and an attempted leg glance, but ball strays too far down leg side, and that signalled a wide. There's actually...
We certainly want a bit of Maxwell ball today, don't we? It would be really nice to see him come out and have a bit of a tonk. Him or Cameron Green, or both.
Well, there's actually 2 Maxwells playing in this game, because Max O'Dowd's first name is Maxwell. And he could very well go out in the tonk when it's his turn to bat. Just Van Meckeren into Labuschagne. Pulled this time. Well timed again into the leg side for 4 runs. Australia are 2-4 there. 199. And that's a...
There's not one boy for me. I must have 2 or 3. I need 4.
Just putting in a bit of we're on 199 now, so we're on 200 watch for Australia, but just putting in a bit of a word for the Guerrilla Cricket highlights package that comes out for, I think, all of the games, and it's a really great way to listen to the highlights, a half an hour or so of highlights all strung together. Generally, it comes out very quickly after the end of play or the next day, so very worthwhile if you don't get to watch all of the innings.
Van Meckeren in for the 5th ball of the over to Labuschagne. Fuller this time, and no run on the offside. And yeah, I think you can find that on the Guerrilla Cricket podcast feed. Is that right, Kat?
Yeah, that's right. So just use your normal podcast supplier, your podcatcher. I use Overcast. You can use the standard Android or Apple podcasts and look for Guerrilla Cricket, and you'll be able to find all sorts of wonderful highlights there. It's a really great package to catch up on.
Yeah, nice quick way to catch up on the game. Van Meckeren in for the last ball of the over to Labuschagne. Good length, just defended onto the onside for no run. Australia are 199 for 2, Labuschagne 26 off 27, David Warner 88 off 76. Messi.
Barong says, so if you're unconscious, it may be difficult to do the concussion test, I'm guessing. Jay says, sorry, Kat, multitasking. Didn't notice until you mentioned Batman. Serious, but I don't like the phrase scat test. Most symptoms have just described my usual day. And he says, Batman retains an impossible level of kawaii. I'm not sure what kawaii is, but I sort of get it. Batman is impossibly cute, although a lot bigger than when he first visited us, as I recall, Kat.
Yeah, he was just such a tiny puppy when he was so little.
Yeah.
I have a teddy bear that I'll hold up in a moment, and he was smaller than that.
Was he smaller than the kittens that we play in the innings breaks?
Oh, yes.
Have a look at this terrible teddy bear that he has been chewing. It's a completely, it's a very...
mangled.
They're the eyes of the teddy bear. It's terrible. But anyway, he was smaller than that little teddy bear. No one else can see this because I still think we're not on the YouTube.
No, we are. We're on the YouTube.
Oh, we're on it? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Well, it looks like that teddy bear is in worse shape than Alyssa Healy's finger.
Yeah.
Well, the teddy bear rather looks like something out of a horror movie, to be honest, with the eyes like that.
Yeah, truly does.
It's been a bad couple of weeks for Alyssa Healy. First Beth Mooney throwing balls at her, and now her dogs are tearing off her fingers.
Yeah, indeed. I have to show you Batman now because look, he's just having a little. It's all curled up. There you go.
Oh,
Hello, Batman.
He's super cute.
Do you have any thoughts on the game?
What do you think, Batman? No, he just wants to go to sleep.
Yeah. So Batman and Bobbin, I take it, get on well.
Oh yes, they love each other and they love the cat as well.
Oh,
that's lucky.
Yes, doesn't always happen.
Yeah, the cat's probably not quite as enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Jay says, I don't claim to understand the nuances of Australia's recent referendum, but bitter past personal experience suggests the majority vote winners in these things are fucking morons who should eat a bag of dicks. Far be it for me to say that I often agree with you.
We will take that as a comment.
Very diplomatic there from Ardit.
I mean, also true, but yes, we will take that as a comment. I think we are in a drinks break, so I might look for this thing.
So we're up to date on tweets. So predictions, okay. Put your money where your mouth is. Final score, at it.
Well, Cricket first says 333. I think...
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's selling Australia a little bit short. I reckon 365.
I've got 395.
Kat?
I was going to say 360. I'm with you guys.
Well,
yeah.
Depends how many catches they can hold. I mean, we are seeing some pretty good catching. It's just that Australia are not hitting it into the air often enough.
Yeah, because David Warner has pretty much stopped trying to hit sixes, and we wonder when Australia will put their foot on the gas again.
Do you think he's trying to get to 100 from 100 deliveries? I hope so.
That would be neat.
As Roloff van der Merwe comes back into the attack.
My goodness, he looks like someone's grandfather.
Round the wicket to the left-handed Warner. Played into the leg side for no run. Yeah, there should be a competition between him and Iftikhar Ahmed as the oldest-looking players in the tournament. Again, into Warner.
He looks 10 years older than he is.
Again, into Warner, who's just played that onto the leg side for one run, brings him on to 89 off 78 balls, mind you. So
I don't think he's even the oldest player in the Dutch squad, actually.
Mm.
I looked that up the other. I can't remember who it is, but somebody who's 39 in the squad, I think.
I think that might be
the oldest
Roloff.
player in the World Cup.
I think that might be Roloff.
Roloff looks younger.
Roloff into Labuschagne and driven out to long off for a single. Labuschagne onto 27. Australia 201 for 2.
Oh no, this is Roloff, isn't it? This is Roloff, isn't it?
Yeah.
He looks, I mean, it's some feat to look older than your age when you're wearing a one-day kit. Usually guys in activewear look younger than they are. Put him in a suit and he's going to look about 55.
Yeah.
Van der Merwe into Warner and played this time onto the leg side, through the gap at mid-wicket, but just out for a single to the sweeper. Brings him on to 90. The nervous 90s onto 202. And yeah, I think we'll be having a change at the end of this over.
Yes, due a change. Can Australia get to 400? I mean, they really need to have a good crack at it, right?
Absolutely. Van der Merwe into Labuschagne. Clears the front leg, but couldn't clear short mid-wicket, no run. Yeah, Australia really need to show that they can make a big score.
They're not trying hard enough at the moment. You shouldn't be accepting 3 runs from an over at this stage of the match.
Absolutely not. But Labuschagne's strike rate's actually close to 100 now, so as Van der Merwe's aborted last ball of the over has been given a wide, straight down leg side, brings Australia to 203. Yeah, you wonder when they'll start to accelerate properly. Last ball of the over, hopefully now to Labuschagne, and that's just driven out to cover for no run. Australia 200 and 3 for 2. Labuschagne on 27, Warner on 90, and we are having a change.
There are 5'3" Welshmen. I refute your assertion, presumably in relation to looking like a grandfather. And do we have someone? We do. Ben is back with us. Welcome back, Ben. I'll leave you to it.
Yes, thanks, Messi. That was a quick half an hour.
Seemed to be.
That went by as old Vandermeer was copping it from the commentators about looking old. He's definitely been in the game today with those catches or non-catches and his off-spinners as Bastien De Lead is back into the attack with Warner into the 90s and he's cutting that through the offside. He's going to get 4 here and he's going to race to 94 off just the 80 deliveries. That really was a loosener from Jalid, and well, they will be getting up towards that 390. Messi was saying if he keeps bowling deliveries like that.
There was a wide ball outside the off stump, full length, and Warner's feet weren't anywhere near the ball, but he just threw his hands at it and cleanly hit it through the covers.
Well, so 18 overs. Well, if they go at 10 and over, that is 380, and that's a better delivery, but that's turned into the leg side, and they set off quickly, but it'll just be the 1. Warner 95. It's 208 for 2.
Yeah, I think the Australians need to show the rest of the competition that they really have the strike power to accelerate at the back end of an innings, which they haven't been really able to do so far.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's... They kind of threw it away a little bit against Pakistan, even though they made 360, but that was all the openers, really.
Correct,
and
yes.
Yeah, they haven't had the Maxwell, Stoinis, these types come in and really accelerate as South Africa had. As that one's wrapping on the pads, it must have been an edge into the pad or off the face, because that looked a close shout. They're having a think about it. No, I think it was just a good delivery that jagged back in and took the edge. No, they are going to review.
I mean,
well, you may as well. You got 2. Yes, go. Yes. I think we'll find that probably just comes off almost the back of the bat or the leading edge,
yes, because it flew.
It flew to the boundary.
It wasn't like a ball that's hit a pad, unless he's got wood in his pads, which I doubt he has.
You never know. This would be... Yeah, it's almost a funny one. Usually those... You'd know if it couldn't have been an inside edge into pad, because then it would have ricocheted off in front of the stumps.
Yes.
I think it's almost come off the back of the bat.
Marnus has a wry smile.
He always does.
He never believes he's out when he's out. He's the slowest walker off the ground when he gets dismissed, isn't he?
Yeah, he really needs to grow up a bit, really, and get off the field when he's given out. But this one, as we're just looking at the close-up here, yes, I think that's just clipped straight off the outside edge. And that could go down as the worst review in the history of cricket.
Well, the bowler wasn't sure.
It was going on to hit the stumps, I reckon, if they continued with ball tracking. But
correct.
As the captain just looks a little bit sheepish behind the stumps. But well, you got a couple of reviews. That's the first one they've even thought about it. So no harm done. Still leads bowling another decent delivery that Labuschagne can't get a run from. So after that first loosener, it's been not a bad comeback. Unlucky to get the edge there for 4 off that previous delivery.
I've noticed Marnus is wearing an armband today. Does anyone know why? Maybe for Bish and Betty?
But just Marnus? There's no one else?
No, I didn't see Warner or the other players wearing it.
The rest of the players are well known to have hated Bish and Beatty.
That one's almost wrapping him on the pad, and then maybe it was too high and there's no run. Yeah, well, Marnus going out on a limb to support his hero. It's 212 for 2, and they won't review this one. Well, this would be pretty funny if we looked at a replay and this one was out. It must have been too high. It wrapped him on the pads, but it was perhaps well above the knee roll. Still leads coming in to complete the over, and Marnus will get a single as he turns that down to fine leg. 33 gone. It's 213 for 2. Labuschagne 32. Warner 95.
Mog, anything on the socials?
No.
Thank you. There was a big dramatic pause to build up to that one. Very good.
Well worth it.
There is a bit of love for Ben's hair from Jay Grover. I'm going back to
thanks.
YouTube with Ben is on. It's like a glorious follicle lottery.
I was going to get a haircut this week, but maybe not anymore.
Not quite in the Max O'Dowd league.
Definitely no chance of going bald for me. And it will be Van der Merwe. Is it Merwe or Merwe?
Your guess is as good as mine.
You just can't be too sure, but he'll continue. His left arm around the wicket, and Marnus is swiping that one over the fence for 6. Well, that's his first real shot in anger. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's played a few nice pull shots, but that's the first maximum over the boundary. It's 219 for 2. Perhaps now's the time. Well, he can't keep plodding along at a strike rate of 80 or 90 with this sort of platform. He's really got to go big or get out now, or they're going to leave a few runs out there.
So that was the classic get out of jail.
And he's turned that one fine. He's going to get 4. Well, that's 10 off 2 deliveries from Marnus. He's just tickled that. It was not a great delivery down the leg side. Perhaps getting tired in his old age, Van der Merwe has now conceded 10 off 2 deliveries this over.
Well, Edwards has kept him back well into the innings because he's only into his 3rd over as their most experienced spinner.
Yeah, so let's see how he can come back from here. And that is a better delivery. Just it's getting a bit cramped up there, Labuschagne, as he played into the offside and there's no run. Yes, Glenn Maxwell really will be chomping at the bit to get out there, you would think, with this sort of platform. So a bit of pressure on these two to keep it going as Marnus is tickling that one past that short third man. It's a bit of a misfield. That should have been fielded. Van der Merwe can't believe it. That's another boundary. He's gone for 14 this over. He kicks the turf.
That was a very clever shot by Marnus. He waited and played a real late cut, which wasn't fielded by a short third man. Should have been fielded by a short third man.
Should have been fielded. Almost played that off the face of the bat. Just kind of poked it down there. Such was how well he picked it. He was in the right position. And they can't believe it in their field. And that one's tossed up and Marnus can't beat short cover as he slashes at that half volley.
Can anyone read Dutch swear words? Read lips of Dutch swear words?
No, I think he just said fuck. Very loudly as Marnus turns that one in to the onside. And they'll get a run out to deep mid-wicket. And that was a very good over for the Australians. What was that? 15 from it. It's 228 for 2.
Over on the YouTube, Stephen Kelk is apparently not working. And he said he would show you all some super chat love because the ship with the bigger tokens has come in, but the option is not active on GC2, so I'll just privately send you my account details. And still no love on Twitter.
Come on, Twitter. X, whatever you're called. Get in there. There's the ground now almost all in shadow.
The lights are on, I think.
The lights are on and we're almost into the last 15, 16 overs to go. So we are getting a nice shot of that grandstand from the drone footage from the host broadcaster at the other end. There really is, a little nice bit of ingenuity or architecture to fit those seats in.
In the
As
promenade stand.
Crowd continues to swell here. It's very well populated now. It'll almost be half full. The locals getting right into it. A lot of support for both teams. A lot of people in Indian shirts waving Australian flags or no waving Dutch flags, which is good to see. I'm not sure what the hold-up is here. We're just trying to work out what's going on. Perhaps just another impromptu drinks break. I feel like we just had a long drinks break. I feel like every over is a drinks break.
It's my
in one day cricket. I don't know why.
It's probably my pet hate. Really,
it's probably another topic.
Breaks.
But why do we have drinks breaks when every over the batsmen get a drink run out to them?
Because these batsmen are more valuable than your house.
Somehow over time we've got slower at playing cricket.
Yep.
Not quicker.
Leah's piped in with some proper Dutch swearing. She says, to fucking Dutch is nuken, and Alet na de kleuter means all fucked up.
I like that one.
Very good.
Alet na de kleuter.
Which is clearly what Roloff said last over.
Yeah.
He said it in Afrikaans, so if anybody knows Afrikaans swearing, if you could let us know those.
Roloff from Johannesburg originally. As Bastien de lead will continue, and that one's turned down to fine leg. Fielded by Singh down there, but they'll come back for two. That's good running. Labuschagne getting on his bike now, 49 from 41, and he's really stepped it up in that last over, which he needed to, and he needs to go on here from Australia. Not that I think they're in any danger of losing the game from here.
The run rate's crept up to 6.7 now. It
would be a record in all the records if they were to lose from here. But they do want a bigger score as possible, as Labuschagne's reaching his half-century as he gets a run out to deep point. That's 42 deliveries. Very well made. We were a bit sceptical in the box of dreams that he might soak up deliveries, but he's done his job so far.
I think we should have a 50 jingle there somewhere. He hasn't got many of them recently, so we needed to celebrate it.
No, he's just lifted his World Cup average and strike rate up. And can Warner get his 100, speaking of milestones? And he won't get a run as Talib fields off his own bowling. None for 39 off 3.3. He really has gone the journey to lead. And well, there's a few bowlers, I think, in this lineup that are hoping that the captain doesn't point to them and say, give me 3 or 4 at the end. But they'll all have to chip in.
Of course, Baz is son of a gun. His dad represented the Netherlands in the World Cup.
Let's see what Warner can do here. No, perhaps just in the nervous 90s, he's just defended that like he would in a test match. Still with that grin on his face. It's been... must have had some plastic surgery to just hold the position to... I'm pretending to be happy-go-lucky, because that's what they told me to be. He's smiling at everything.
And he knows most of his sponsorship money comes from Indian companies nowadays, so he wants to keep them happy.
Happy at all times, Davey. Let's see if he's going to get his 100. No, he can't get a run again as he defends that one. And smiles again down the mid-off.
We dodged a bullet there. The run rate was 6.66.
What does the score finish up if it remains 6.66? Someone's got a calculator? 333. Don't need a calculator. Well done. There's the last ball, the over, and Warner again can't get a run, so he's faced out 4 dot balls. And that over has gone for just the 3. A very good one for the Netherlands. It's 231 for 2. Warner stuck on 95.
Deleted 39.4.
Jay says, after paying his proper sacrifice to me and my name, Afrikaans swearing is just mint. Well, the entire language just sounds like a torrent of abuse to me. I'm sure he's used to hearing torrents of abuse.
Good work in the producer's chair.
So we've got 14 overs left. It's interesting to see how the Australians accelerate 15 overs left from this point.
It's got to be all out attack. You've got to go for 10 and over, 150, 281.
Yeah, this is where the
Surely.
South Africans with Klaasen and Markram.
Miller, and even de Kock when he's in. I mean, Warner the other night made 160 odd off 120. He'd be doing well to get to those sort of figures now, but he hasn't had quite the acceleration to really go on with it. He's almost seemed like he just really wants to get to that second 100, then maybe he'll go on with it.
Well, I don't think they'll want 400 because the one time they scored 400, they lost. So it's a cursed number for them.
Yep. It's almost a 100% chance that they will lose then, are you saying, if they get to 400?
Correct.
Time for some loose bowling. We have a reminder about pronunciation. It's Deleda.
Deleda.
I think the Dutch are getting very upset.
Deleda. Got it? Van der Merwe or Merwe. That's the other one I was wanting. Merwe. Is it Dut or Dut?
Dut.
Dut? Just Dut?
Yep.
And again, we have a huge delay between overs.
And Labuschagne is pronounced dickhead.
For no...
Very good.
Labuschagne or dickhead, as he's known, is charging down and hitting a 6 over mid-off. Well, he's not hanging around. He's definitely got the message that it's all or nothing here. It's 237 for 2. That really was just a ball. Well, not going to say half tracker, but it was just a length ball that was there to be hit.
Yeah, it gave him space on the offside to free his arms, and Marnus just went for it.
Basically everything with enough bat on it on this ground is 6, so may as well just do that every time. And he's hitting that one behind square on the leg side. He's going to hit another boundary. He's been good at that, Marnus. He's been good at following up the 6 with a 4 and starting the over with 10 off 2. Warner at the other end must be saying, why can't I get that and just get to my 100?
Yes.
And yes, Marnus, maybe he will get that 100 off 80 deliveries or less that we were talking about, I think, on our last stint together, Chris. We were saying he really needs to go on with it. A 30 or 40 is not much good. 60 off 44 has been very good, but
George Bailey looks like he's giving him some psychic messages, rubbing his forehead, telling him what to do.
He's saying, Travis said, don't worry, you're still in the side next game, mate. No matter what Marnus does, you're in. And he'll be out, but we've got to encourage him. That's Thor O'Dowd. Is it O'Dowd?
Yes, it is.
That's not an Afrikaans name.
He's a Kiwi.
It's pronounced O'Dowd.
We're going to get into trouble here.
Max O'Dowd is actually a Kiwi, so I think we're pretty safe there.
But now they're definitely a worldly side. And Ken Warner can't get another run there either. And I think the captain, who the Melburnian from the Dutch side, was Tongan born.
Yes, he was.
Is that
yes,
correct? So
that's correct, yep.
They're covering all bases.
He's playing on his nerve a bit now, I think.
And Warner's working that one out through the covers, but he can only get a single. 96. One ball to go on the over. Can Marnus keep the strike? It feels like Warner's been in the 90s for as long as a test match. He hasn't faced that many balls. There's been a few dot balls, but I think the strike perhaps has just been farmed a little bit by Labuschagne. Engelbrecht, hopefully that's pronounced correctly, is in there at short cover as Marnus is making room and then just squirting a single. They're going to look for 2 here, and no, Warner doesn't go back, and O'Dowd does the fielding. Labuschagne will keep the strike. Warner will have to wait again. That's the end of the over. It's 244 for 2.
I assume this is in reference to one of the Australians, but Joe Grover says, personification of the shit-eating grin. Warner?
Yes.
Yep.
Smart little kid that he is.
For those on YouTube, John
And Leah says, his nickname is Dickhead? I mean, I'm not surprised. He does strike me as one. It's not his nickname, it's just how his name's pronounced.
You know that when none of the other players even try to hide when they joke about Marnus. You see Usman Khawaja on the coverage and all these other people just openly joking about how annoying he is and that he's a pest. And I think with complete seriousness on their face. And there he goes. He will be caught at mid-on. He tried to loft that one down the ground, just got the inside edge of the bat. I think it's Dutt down there at mid-on who's taken the catch safely. Labuschagne won't go on to that 100. He's gone for 62. It's 244 for 3. 36.1 gone.
Soft dismissal by Marnus. He just got an inside edge and it just floated to mid-on, who took a simple catch.
Yeah, just off the bat, the way he's been going, I thought that would be another 6, but no, not to be. But, well, considering how he's been going in this World Cup, he'll be disappointed not to go on with that. There was 3 figures waiting, but he certainly has done his job for the team. 62 off 47, hasn't wasted any time, cleared the ropes on a couple of occasions and certainly kept things moving along and has set the platform now, you would think, for Glenn Maxwell.
Maxwell or Inglis? It would be interesting. The previous night they sent Maxwell out and he made a mockery of it by getting out first ball.
That was funny, wasn't it? I hope he does that again. Or leaves a straight one on middle stump, either way.
Yes, that's right.
One of the two.
Classic Maxwell dismissals. You could write a book about them, couldn't you?
It's gonna be an empty place one day cricket when Glenn Maxwell retires. Hopefully he's got a few years left in him, but it won't be Glenn Maxwell. It'll be Josh Inglis, not Greg Inglis, as I sometimes call him. Easy mistake to make.
And I've heard some people say John Inglis.
John Inglis. Not that they look similar at all, but just not many Inglises in Australian international sport, you wouldn't have thought. But he is one who has come in and he's had a few tough situations, but he's got the 1/2 century, but his strike rate is up over 100.
Yeah, and he is an all-around the ground player too. He finds corners of the ground.
As Deleda comes in and he's just finding the bowler there as he hits that one back down the ground. Yes, always chewing. Always got that intent look on his face as he's chewing the gum. Real stocky, sort of pocket rocket type character, typical wicketkeeper.
There's something about him that reminds me of Damien Martin.
He reminds me of Aaron Finch.
Finch, definitely.
Just with the chewing gum, the beard. Just a bit stocky. Probably not at all, but just looks a little bit compared to the super lean typical athlete these days. Perhaps chewing the cigarette gum like Finchy always is. Trying to just get through an innings without a dart. As Deleda comes in again. This is a wicket maiden so far, but not anymore as Inglis. He might even get a boundary here as that one's hit down between fine leg and deep backward square. How many times have we seen that today? The ball beat those two fielders. He wasn't in control. He put his head down and just got a bit of bat on it and raced away for 4.
Yeah, and I think to his advantage, he hit it to the ground, so there was no risk of it being caught.
I sailed in a little bit short there. It just looked a little bit ungainly, but I think he was in control there. He's in a good position. He got it early and hit it straight into the ground, and it's a good start for Inglis. Deleda's bowling a full ball there, and he's getting a toe onto it as he's in his follow-through, and it ricochets back to mid-off, and there's no run. Inglis very animated there. He's pretty happy with the shot.
That was a great shot by Inglis for no run. Straight back, just hit it straight back to the bowler, though, unfortunately, who couldn't get his hands down and just had to deflect it off his foot.
He seems like he's almost in the Matty Wade. Maybe not as much as the bulldog in your face of the opposition, but just a very up and about character, very animated, very twitchy.
Just on armband watch, Inglis is wearing an armband too.
Yeah, I think Warner had the armband too, so they must all be Bish and Beatty fans, as Inglis is getting a single out to deep mid-wicket, and he'll keep the strike. Again, Warner just stares back at the other end and says, "Come on, mate. I'm just 4 runs away."
Stephen Kelk says, "Yes, eat that, Australia. Orange heart, orange heart, orange heart, orange heart." Jay Grover says, "Mog, I've done intensive research and the name does not mean dickhead. It means coming from the French village of Buscagne. Further research revealed that the name Buscagne does actually mean dickhead.
So the last 12 balls has only yielded 18 runs in the loss of Marnus's wicket. So Netherlands are doing quite well in this last little period.
Yes, it really is party time now. Inglis back on strike, but I feel like Warner just needs to get this 100 out of the way, and he could go really big. But for the moment, it is Van Beek, or Van Beek, maybe. As Inglis is steering that to third man, and Warner will retain the strike finally. That's the 250 up for Australia for the loss of 3 wickets too.
Inglis is saying to Warner, there you go, I've given you the strike back, do something.
Before the Dutch nationalists chime in, it's Van Beek.
Van Beek. This is
Yes.
a learning experience behind the mic. As Warner's flicking that to fine leg, and he'll just get a single. Really drawing it out. He moves to 97. And we keep waiting. Yes, that run rate up to 6.72. They'd still be targeting 350 plus, 100 runs at least from here. Must be the target. But as we've seen in a few games so far this World Cup, the last 10 overs doesn't yield too many, but that's yielding 6 runs as Inglis smashes that one over mid-wicket. He was on the back foot into good position, and that's gone sailing into the packed crowd there at mid-wicket. He's having a laugh. He's away. He's 12 off 7.
That was pure power by Inglis. He just rocked onto the back foot and elevated it as high as he could.
It was just a proper cricket shot. It wasn't a lot of foot movement. He didn't change position at all. He just picked it up early, slightly rocked onto the back foot and helped it on its way. That dropped in the crowd too.
88 metres. So he's really...
That would have been 6 on most grounds in the world. And will that be a sign of things to come? I suspect it would be.
I think he would have been given the licence to swing often and swing hard.
Yes, and we might just be waiting for the ball to make its way back from the crowd. There'd be a few fans here that wouldn't mind just absconding with a cricket ball, but no, safely back in Van Beek's hand, and that one steered down to third man. Will it beat the field? No. Dutt's made good ground, and he's kept it to 1. Warner back on strike. Well and truly on 100 watch.
If he was to get there, I think this is Warner's 5th World Cup 100.
And let's see how he goes. He's only getting a single.
He's going to do it in ones.
He's just been doing it in ones for about the last half an hour. We're probably due a commentary change soon, but I feel like we've deserved this 100. Maybe let's give us one more over after this.
Runs from
I'm not the producer though, so if anyone wants to kick me off, I'll be happy. Just 1 ball to come in this over, and Inglis is not going to keep the strike, so Warner will be on strike for the next over, as that's a dot ball to end the over. 259 for 3.
Adam Newman on YouTube says Fawad Ahmed lost his son a few days ago, and that's why the Aussies are wearing armbands.
Good point. Yes.
Yes, I did say that. Very sad news. Former Australian international player.
And in Jaguar Overwatch, he says, in Yorkshire, it's pronounced soft tart. I'm as confused as you are.
Warner is pronounced soft tart. So we go for another extended break at the end of the over. I feel like about an hour ago we were on the over 8. Now we're about 5 overs behind. I haven't seen the official over 8, but it will be Warner to Delede, and he's hitting it into the offside. He's going to push off perhaps for 2. No, they're coming back. No, they're not coming back. There's just one. He really wanted that. He's on 99. Inglis just push a single.
Feels like
let's just get this over and done with. This has been very much drawn out.
Feels like his last 5 or 6 scoring shots have all been singles.
Well, I think there are a few dot balls in there as well. I think probably the last 12 balls he's faced has been 5 singles and 7 dots. We'll see if Inglis can hit another one over the fence or just farm the strike. He's going to slash that one through point, and it'll be kept to 1 as the sweeper does the fielding. So here we go. Warner, 99 from 90 deliveries. Surely this will be it.
Run out.
There could be a run out. There could be a catch. There could be anything. Will the Dutch just move the field around just to play a few mind games? No. Delede's going to come in quickly, not wasting any time. Warner's stumbled over the arm, over the fence. It's gone for 4. Warner just gets a bit of money from Toyota as he does the jump, does another weird flick of the chin and puts the bat up in the air. That's another 100. He moves to 103. It really has been a fine innings from David Warner. Another one at this World Cup, and his rich vein of World Cup form just continues for Australia.
Very good innings by Warner, and that little flick of the chin, he did that in his previous innings as well, so I'm not quite sure what that means.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100.
Congratulations, sir. You are a centurion.
And yes, congratulations, Warner, as he just pushes another single after that 100 to move to 104. And we've all learnt how to get to 100 with that sting.
So now it gives him the opportunity to really open his shoulders in the back end of this innings.
Yes, and I think he will. As will Inglis. That's a good delivery, a fuller ball. He can't beat mid-wicket as he flicks that one through, and that is the end of the over. No one to come. There is 1 ball to go as the sun is setting over Delhi. As yes, that was his 6th World Cup hundreds. Just 1 behind Rohit Sharma, and level now with Sachin Tendulkar, who played about twice as many innings as Warner. Warner the 23 innings, Sharma 22, so those two relatively the same, but obviously there were less hundreds made in the Tendulkar Ponting era in one-day international cricket as Inglis is skying the last ball of the over. It's up in the air and it's going to be caught by the deep mid-wicket. For a moment there I thought that was sailing into the crowd for another 6, but no, it's been caught about 10 metres in, safely on the fence. Inglis is gone for 12. Delede's got another wicket. He's got 2 for 51 from 6. He's been expensive, but he's got a couple of wickets, and well, as they keep taking wickets, there's more of a chance to keep that score down. And that is the end of the over. We will have that commentary change, and I think we'll see you in half an hour or so.
Well, I reckon you took that wicket, Ben, and by staying on an extra over just for the glory of the century. Oh, and we got Bobbin with us now.
We do have Bobbin now. Bobbin's very keen on the microphone. She likes biting it.
Excellent for our ratings.
Yeah. Do we have kittens at half time today?
There will be kittens at half time. After I get off this stint, I'll go and set up a kitten cam.
Excellent. And you probably need to get Mark to put us on screen too.
Oh, yes.
Indeed.
There we go. Oh, well done, Mark. That was quick.
Anyway, well done
Seamless
whoever brought that last wicket
nowadays.
on, because we now have Maxwell Ball. About time too.
When you say Maxwell Ball, it may just be 1 ball again.
Maxwell Ball. He did have some Panadol or something just before he came out, which is perhaps, I don't know, perhaps isn't a good sign. Interesting. I would have thought you would. I mean, I guess he can't take it too early. He needs to take it just before his innings starts. He did take it just out there on the rope just before he came onto the ground. Did we find out what the black armbands were for?
Yeah, for Farwood Ahmed's son who died this week, very sadly.
Oh, that's very sad. Terrible.
They're bloody shit black armbands. They're just a bit of black duct tape.
Going out, skying a ball out into the... Trying to hit a six, quite rightly, but not quite managing it. And Delita took that wicket. So now we have Warner on strike to Funback, who manages to bowl a wide straight up.
So I've
worked out how to accept Mog's guidance on the pronunciation for Funback, and it is that he goes like a Dutch oven, and a Dutch oven, of course, can fan bake. There you go.
Oh, there you go. So I thought we were just seeing a replay there. Is that actually a wicket? Anyway, it's very similar to the last delivery. Funback comes in and bowls to Warner. Warner is on 104 and he has tickled the ball into the outfield, up in the sky, and he has been caught. So Warner has been dismissed for 104.
I thought that was actually a very nice looking shot at first, but he's managed to pick out the field absolutely perfectly. And a bit shaky on the catch, but taking in front of the chest. But yeah, good innings, I guess, from Warner. I actually missed some in the last 2 hours because I was having some